Okay, I think it's 11, and as we start on time and continue to be on time, I'd like to start the first real plenary session of the annual 2025 general annual general meeting of the ID for Africa movement. So welcome back. Please take your seat. This is going to be a session of 3 segments. Let me overview with you the segments. So operator, give me the first slide. So these are 3 major segments. The first segment will feature 5 countries who are speaking for the first time at the AGM's Digital Identity Progress Report segment. These nations have achieved remarkable milestones and are now stepping onto the global stage. Get ready for fresh perspectives from new players in the major league. The second segment is i-ON-ETHIOPIA, is a special feature dedicated to our host country, Ethiopia, showcasing how cross-sector collaboration is driving their digital identity agenda, addressing both supply and demand challenges. And then the third segment is very exciting, features the most mature identity authorities in Africa. Their focus is no longer on enrollment or platform selection, but on sustainability, scalability, and business model. Just waiting to let additional people in. Please take the first seat that you can find. Okay, so let's dive into segment 1. I have with me already on the stage, operator, next slide. Yes. From Mauritania, Sidi Ali Nafi, Director and CEO, National Agency for the Population Register and Secure Titles, ANRPTS. From Tanzania, Edson Guya, Director, ID Management, National Identification Authority, NIDA. From Benin, Aristide Ajinaku, Director General, National Agency for the Identification of Persons, ANIP. From Somalia, Abdelwali Ali Abdul, Director General, National Identification and Registration Authority, NIRA. And from Malawi, Mafatso Sambo, Principal Secretary, National Registration Bureaus. They are here already on the stage. They're the heads of the identity authorities. Please welcome our illustrious panel. So here's the rule of engagement. They will speak very briefly at a high level, about 10 minutes each, back to back. At the end, we will have a Q&A session, but you can ask your questions at any moment through the Slido. And I'll ask you also to vote. I'll ask the audience to vote on the questions because we want to make sure the questions that the most popular will have the chance to be answered. So ask the question anytime and label the question by the name of the country you wish to answer. So if you have a question for Tanzania, put at Tanzania and then ask your question. Ask it at any time. So again, the Slido code will be around, and then if you don't see it on the screen, it's on the back of your event guide, but it's also in the mobile app, integrated in the mobile app. Okay, so let us begin with the first presentation. I will ask Sidi Ali Nafi to come to the stage, to the podium, to deliver the first presentation. Thank you very much. This will be in French.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour tout le monde. Mesdames et messieurs, c'est pour moi un grand honneur de prendre la parole aujourd'hui devant cette prestigieuse assemblée réunie dans le cadre de l'ID for Africa, un espace unique de réflexion et de partage autour de la gouvernance digitale, de l'identité et du développement de notre continent. À travers mon intervention, je souhaite partager avec vous une expérience marquée par des défis complexes, mais aussi significatifs, que ce soit en matière d'identification biométrique, de modernisation de l'état civil, de l'identité numérique ou de l'intégration technologique. Sans tarder, je vais essayer de vous faire la présentation.
Vous pouvez regarder là.
Pardon. Cette présentation s'articule autour de trois axes. Le premier, on parlera d'un historique, puis on verra le processus de digitalisation qu'on a entamé en Mauritanie et on finira par les perspectives pour ce qu'on appelle l'identité numérique. Pour l'historique, donc, comme vous le savez, la Mauritanie est devenue un pays indépendant depuis 1960 et depuis lors, jusqu'à 1998, on avait un état civil manuscrit et déclaratif. C'est à partir de 1998 qu'on a entamé un processus ou un REIMAGINING, ce qu'on appelle un recensement à vocation d'état civil pour l'ensemble de population, en créant ainsi un registre d'état civil. Et en 2000, on a passé selon l'obligation de la démocratie pour un fichier électoral fiable, et c'est là où on a introduit la biométrie. À partir de 2011, pardon, le slide. En 2011, et face aux menaces induites par les nouvelles découvertes de richesses, par le terrorisme, pardon. Ça passe vite. Retour, s'il vous plaît. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Non, ça passait. Donc, je disais que devant ces menaces, non, c'est les premiers. On va voir ça. Okay. Parce que ça, c'est marche arrière.
Could you bring the slides back?
Yeah, no, just here.
Actually, just say suivant.
Retour en arrière, s'il vous plaît. Le slide juste avant. Non, before.
Mhm. Yes.
Donc ici. Je disais que face aux menaces induites par les nouvelles découvertes de richesses, des terrorismes et trafics illicites, l'immigration clandestine, face aussi à la non-sécurisation des documents nationaux, la situation de l'existant était des titres non sécurisés, structures cloisonnées et un cadre juridique non adopté. C'est à partir de là que la stratégie nationale relative à la mise en place d'un système qui, pardon, qui a assigné un ensemble des objectifs doit être mis en place. Il s'agit de la préservation de l'identité et renforcement de l'unité nationale par l'identification des populations, que ce soit les citoyens ou les résidents, par la sécurisation des titres. Le deuxième objectif de cette stratégie était la préservation de la sécurité intérieure et extérieure à travers la maîtrise et gestion du flux migratoire, la lutte contre le terrorisme et les trafics illicites. Et bien sûr, un troisième objectif de cette stratégie, qui est la création d'un cadre moderne et compétitif pour le développement économique et social. Par le développement et la sécurisation des échanges numériques, le rapprochement de l'administration des citoyens et le renforcement de la démocratie. Tels sont les objectifs qui ont été assignés par la nouvelle stratégie qui a été mise en place en 2011. Est-ce que je peux avoir un peu d'eau là? pardon. Donc, je disais que pour atteindre ces objectifs, un ensemble des outils ont été mis en place. C'est là où on a créé ce qu'on appelle le système intégré de gestion de population et des titres sécurisés, qui regroupe l'ensemble des structures concernées par l'identification d'état civil et la production des titres sécurisés. Comme vous le voyez dans le schéma, ça c'est l'architecture de l'ensemble du système qui a été mis en place comme outil pour atteindre ces objectifs. Il regroupe une base de données biographiques qui est liée à travers une base de données biométrique, donnant ainsi la naissance d'un numéro d'identification unique pour chaque individu en Mauritanie. Pour tous les citoyens, des résidents, chaque individu a son numéro d'identification unique qui sert à l'identification par la suite. Ce système aussi regroupe un ensemble de structures émettrices pour l'ensemble des titres sécurisés. Et afin de faire marcher ou faire plutôt mettre en œuvre ce système, il fallait adapter ou adopter plutôt un cadre juridique moderne. C'est dans ce cadre que le nouveau code d'état civil a été promulgué, des décrets portant création. Est-ce que je peux? Oui, oui. Ça marche pas, d'accord. Pardon. Le décret portant création d'une agence qui est chargée de la mise en place de ce système a été aussi adopté. Des décrets relatifs à la création des commissions responsables de l'enrôlement de population. On a créé des structures au niveau de chaque commune, au niveau de chaque département et gouvernorat pour l'enrôlement de l'ensemble des populations. Des arrêtés fixant les conditions d'enrôlement et l'accès ont été aussi adoptés dans ce cadre. Et on a utilisé toutes les bases, les anciens systèmes comme étant des bases de référence pour s'assurer de l'identification des citoyens avant de les enrôler. Next. Ce système a été mis en place en 2011 et aujourd'hui, le taux d'enrôlement au niveau de la Mauritanie dépasse le 94% des populations sont aujourd'hui enrôlés et chacun possède son numéro d'identification nationale. Cet enrôlement ne concerne pas seulement les citoyens, mais toutes les populations qui sont en Mauritanie, que ce soit pour les visiteurs, pour les résidents, les réfugiés et même les résidents ou plutôt les étrangers qui vivent de façon irrégulière sur le territoire mauritanien sont aussi enrôlés et pour lesquels on accorde un identifiant. Next, pour les statistiques. Comme vous le savez, la Mauritanie est un pays de 5 millions. Aujourd'hui, plus de 4 973 000 sont enrôlés. Next. Donc, sur les statistiques, ça c'est par rapport à l'ensemble des populations qui sont enrôlées. Le nombre de citoyens, de résidents, des visiteurs, de réfugiés, les personnes qui vivent de façon irrégulière sont aussi enrôlées. Next. Et aussi, ça c'est un tableau qui vous montre la production de titres. Et il faut signaler qu'en Mauritanie, la carte d'identité, c'est à partir de l'âge de 6 ans. C'est-à-dire, c'est l'âge où on fait la collecte de la biométrie. C'est à partir de 6 ans. C'est à ce moment que le numéro devient unique et lié à la biométrie de la personne. Donc aujourd'hui, il y a plus de 2 700 000 cartes en cours de validité pour une population de 5 millions. Donc, après 12 ans d'exploitation du système, il s'avère que d'autres problèmes sont arrivés. Il s'agit de la disponibilité de services, l'affluence au niveau des centres d'accueil des citoyens. J'ai oublié de vous dire qu'en Mauritanie, il y a la notion du guichet unique, c'est-à-dire que le guichet unique pour les citoyens dans lequel on peut demander tous les services, que ce soit d'état civil ou de demande de titre. On demande l'ensemble des services d'administration liés à l'administration au niveau d'un seul centre. Mais avec cette politique, on a constaté que l'affluence est devenue ingérable et que le nombre aussi de localités fait qu'on ne peut pas ouvrir des centres partout c'est coûteux. C'est pour cela on a essayé de trouver une solution et de passer vers la digitalisation. Et là, on fait travailler les citoyens en utilisant leur smartphone et leurs connaissances par rapport aux applications. C'est dans ce cadre est né ce qu'on appelle Next. Bon, je corrige, ce n'est pas à partir de 2020, c'est l'ancienne version. C'est à partir du 26 décembre 2023 qu'on a lancé un nouveau système développé en local par l'Agence nationale du registre de population et d'identité sécurisée, qui est porté sur un smartphone et qui permet à tout utilisateur de demander l'ensemble de ces données, de ces extraits état civil, de pouvoir demander une carte d'identité ou un passeport, une carte grise, et même pour les autres services du casier judiciaire pour l'éducation. Donc aujourd'hui, on a une application smartphone qui s'appelle i-ON-ETHIOPIA, dans laquelle on regroupe l'ensemble des services. C'est une plateforme qui permet la digitalisation de tout le système. Donc on a fait, si vous voulez, une transformation numérique de la base SIGPTS pour la disponibiliser dans les mains des citoyens. Next. Donc, c'est lancé à partir du 26 décembre 2023. Aujourd'hui, il y a plus de 398 000 comptes qui sont validés et pour lesquels, par exemple, les demandes de passeport, on a constaté que 70% des demandes de passeport sont effectuées à partir de l'application OIETI. Les citoyens ne sont plus besoin de se déplacer, aller à l'administration pour effectuer les transactions. Ils restent chez eux, ils demandent leurs actes, le casier judiciaire et l'ensemble des titres. Donc, pour les indicateurs, plus de 622 000 extraits ont été faits cette année sur la base de cette application. Donc, la population aujourd'hui, la majorité, utilise ce système de smartphone. Il faut aussi comprendre qu'au niveau de notre système d'état civil, il est relationnel. En fait, les liens de parenté sont garantis et peuvent être gérés. Ainsi, cette application, elle permet à chaque chef de famille de faire les transactions liées à ses enfants qui n'ont pas atteint l'âge de majorité, ainsi que sa femme. Next, c'est 10 minutes déjà.
C'est 15 déjà.
Donc, je ne vais pas tarder. Je vais juste vous dire qu'aujourd'hui, on a fait une transformation numérique pour l'ensemble des données sont devenues entre les mains des citoyens et chaque citoyen a son propre compte et il peut vérifier, on peut même le notifier si quelqu'un essaye d'utiliser ces données. Donc, il aura toujours une notification sur la base des transactions qui ont été effectuées sur l'ensemble de ces données. Merci pour votre attention et je suis désolé d'avoir dépassé le temps. Je n'ai pas tout le temps. Merci.
We'll move on to Tanzania. Edson, please. I'm very pleased to see the questions coming in. So great. Vote. Continue to vote on the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atik and the entire ID for Africa team. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Yes, my name is Edison David Guyai. I'm Director of ID Management from the National Identification Authority, NIDA, from Tanzania. Today, I'm going to share with you a little bit about our journey from where we started doing registration up to the now where we do the integration and we develop the identity ecosystem. So I'll take through a short presentation describing the journey of national ID so that this will be as a lesson learned to other African countries. Thank you. Just the first slide, this is just an overview of the NIDA. For the sake of time, Dr. Atik, if you allow me, I will skip one because this one you can find it in our website. Let me go direct to the status, the current status of national ID. if you look at the current status, we just projected the numbers there, and there is registration and identification. We did registration identification. Sorry, we did registration and identification, and we managed to register more than 25.5 million persons. And this, according to our law, eligibility age is 18 years and above. So the entire population from 18 years and above, we have more than 31.5 million persons according to 2022 national census. So in terms of percentage, we have managed to register 81% of adult population. In terms of ID issuance and personalization, because the national ID is, we are using a digital national ID backup up with the ABIS solution to ensure uniqueness. And also in terms of issuance, we are issuing a smart card technology with multiple applications to enable offline and the online usage of national ID. So in terms of personalization, we have managed to personalize more than 21.2 million, and also we have managed to issue 20.1 million ID cards. So this the number is not just a number, it's the quality ID, quality number, because the registration and identification, we follow a so-called a vigorous process in order to ensure that the one who registered in a right group, because according to our laws, we register four type of groups. We registered for citizen, legal residents, refugees, and stateless person. So we have four categories of registration. So as I said, we don't do just registration. We are also developing ID ecosystem. So after having this huge number, 21.1 ID issued, we have also integrated, because we know national ID without integration is just a mere national ID. But if we put some integration in place, we develop ecosystem, and if we develop ecosystem, that means you can simplify or streamline the way government issue services. So we have managed to integrate. Sorry, can you go to the back to the previous slide? So we have managed to integrate more than 124 institutions, private and government, and also we have managed to collect 45.4 million USD. This is from ID verification services. We charge $0.180 per transaction, and also we do charge for replacement and registration of legal resident. And also we know data is a key. So we've managed to develop 2 data centers which work in active passive mode, and we have all our information and all our processing are done in the National Data Center. Next slide, please. So for National ID ecosystem, for us, we call it Jamii number. Jamii number, why Jamii number? Because this is an inclusive ID scheme. So there are 4 key drivers for the national ID ecosystem development. Driver number 1, the idea of Tanzania National ID is to align with the national policies. We have a number of national policies. One is universal health insurance coverage. As you know, from 2023, government passed a law which mandates at least a citizen to have at least health insurance coverage. So health insurance cover. So as you know, we as Tanzania, 76% pay out of the pocket for health care services. So the government decided to introduce a scheme which is called Health Insurance Scheme for All. So this health insurance scheme will not use different card rather than national ID. So we need to pull our socks to ensure that all citizens have the national ID, so that the national ID can be used for the health insurance services. Also, there is the issue of financial inclusion, because as you know, in Africa, mobile wallets now become the access to finance. So most of our young generation, especially those from 16 and 18 years, are excluded according to the current eligibility. That's why the government is working hard to revise the legal frameworks to make sure we include even those which are below 18 years, so that we comply with the financial inclusion framework. The second driver, as you know, we are not working in isolation. We are working with other region for region integration. We are part of EAC. We are also part of AU. So as you know, in EAC, Africa community, East Africa community, we have that policy of free movement across the East Africa community. So we need to have a strong ID system which will help us to move across East Africa. And also, as you know, we have the agenda, AU agenda, which is 2063 agenda, which requires at least we have a document which will enable African to move across the continent and also to facilitate cross-border trade. Also, there is a global vision, which is 2030, which is linked to the legal identity for all. So we, as Tanzania, we are working very hard to make sure we meet that goal. Another driver, which is the driver, is security and development. As you know, if you want to make your country secure, you have to know your citizens. You have to know who is coming and who is leaving. So for the proper border control and everything, this become now the driver for us, which is pushing to implement a strong national ID. The fourth, and not the last one, we have the social protection schemes. We are working closely with the World Bank for the social protection scheme to help the poor, and we use national ID as a key document during targeting, identification of beneficiaries, and also we use national ID during issuing cash to the citizen. In the last slide, I shared the figures, but there is a number of obstacles, the number of challenges which we met during the implementation of the national ID system. Number one, it's the legal constraint. As I said, our eligibility age for national ID is 18 years and above. But now the things have changed. Through the digital economy, we need to lower down the age because of financial inclusion, health insurance, and other services. So if we stick to 18 years and above eligibility, that means 50.8% will be excluded. So this has pushed us to do the revision of our legal frameworks to make sure that we start issuing ID and registering person from birth. Another limitation, as you know, national ID is a massive project. There are four or three key areas. In any national ID must make sure there is enough fund to support. One is ICT infrastructure, to put IT system in place. The second one is mass registration, to register everyone to put in the national ID database. The third one is sensitization and public awareness. So all these parameters need a lot of money to implement. So as I said, because we have excluded 50.8 citizens, 18 years below, so our strategy now is to engage and to start registering from below 18. And estimate budget is almost 250 million, which is a massive investment to register 31 million below 18, and also 70 million, which is a backlog which we need to register. So we have a backlog of almost 38 million, because as I said, we in Tanzania population is 61.7. So registering 25 million, there is a huge backlog we need to work on it. So as a strategy to mitigate the issue of financial limitation, for us, we see the solution is to work with, to collaborate with the international donors or the development partners to make sure we achieve registration of from 0 to 18. Also, the third challenge is, as you know, geographical environment. I think most of Africa, the landscape is almost similar. There is the issue of accessibility. you find someone has to travel 50 or 200 kilometers to find registration centers. So during registration, we use we so-called field registration, where we deployed around 5,000 registration kits in all villages to make sure every citizen, even all the marginalized groups, participate in the registration. And also, the fourth and last challenge, which we overcome, as you know, the national ID system in Africa, we call it a greenfield uh, project, because we start where there is no any formal document to identify a person. So to address this one, because when we start registration, we find that a lot of people, they don't have document for them to be identified. They don't have birth certificate, driving license, they don't have passport. So we decided to design a special form, which is we call it form number 7. This form now is used for those people who does not have the formal document. So what are the key lesson learned? I'll go first. The one slide. Sorry. The key lesson learned. One is the national ID project need a very strong political will. So we need a push from above. This is the key. So we succeeded to register 25.5 million because we had a good political will, a push from above. And also, as I said, national ID system need a strong financing mechanism. So the government has tried to make sure they finance the national ID, and we have managed to register 81% of the adult population. Also, engagement. Stakeholder engagement is the key. For the African country which are starting the issue of national ID, they have to engage everybody, have to engage the immigration department, local government, civil society. All the key stakeholders should be put in picture during the execution of the national ID project. The last one is if you want to push the national ID, you have to come with a strong use case. Because in the case of Tanzania, the registration was low. But when we started linking SIM card registration with this national ID, this is where we managed to increase by 25% of registration. So if you want to push registration, you have to implement a strong use case in place. Let me jump to the final slides. Next steps. What are the next steps? As I said, our eligibility age is 18 years. There is a push from different angles: financial inclusion, health insurance, education, all the functional database need national ID. So now we have started implementing the national ID system for all, which we call it the Jamii number or universal ID. The Jamii number or universal ID will give us mandate to issue ID from birth. So this one will solve a lot of issues because from birth, uh, a child will be given with document, birth certificate document, as well as national ID number and national ID document. Here, but there is a challenge here for the infant from 0 to 5. I think because most of the technological players here, they are still going researching to make sure we have a proper technology because ID, you have to link demographic information and biometric information. From 60 years and above, we don't have the problem. There is a number of regions which can do that. But from 0 to 5, this is where we need more research, more study to make sure we find a proper solution to them. But as a workaround, from 0 to 5, we will be using national ID of the mother. So we link the national ID of the mother with the child national ID in order to identify uniquely a person. So this would be the how are we going to do the Yami number. But just to give the information to the audience, next financial years, we are going to start in July. We are going to launch pilot registration for the infant biometric registration, and we are working close with UNICEF. So we have elected region where we are going to do the pilot EP legislation. For the British Jamin Hapa, we are going also to upgrade ICT infrastructure. Also, we are going to do the legislative reform. We're going to review our legal frameworks, make sure that we comply with our legal framework. Dr. Tekri, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, it has come to my attention that many of you are not using the Wi-Fi of the ID for Africa AGM. You're using the hotel Wi-Fi, which can go in and out. Use ID for Africa AGM, password ID for Africa at 2025. It's much more stable and much stronger. Okay, we're going to continue with Benin. Benin, could you please take the stage? And yep, you're told, so please stay next to the mic.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Aristide Chinani, Director General of the National Agency for Identification of Persons, Benin. I'm honored today to present Benin's journey in transforming identity management and civil registration. Our story is evolved of reforms, deep integration, and I would say pragmatic innovation. Please, let me start by walking through the key milestones that have shaped our national identity ecosystem. Actually, our transformation began over 20 years ago, but there's a real turning point in 2016 with the arrival of the new president and the government who made the decision to transform structurally our economy. This became a national priority. So in 2017, we got a law, the identification law, which has introduced the unique personal identifier for every single individuals, Benin is living in Benin or not, or foreign residents. The same law also established the National Agency for Identification of Persons. And there was an innovation with this agency. The innovation is that this agency is in charge of both identity management and civil registration. This enables, I will say, better governance through a unified view of the population, and also better operational execution. Thanks to this law, we were able to enroll in just 6 months more than 10 million individuals in Benin. We have taken the biometrics and the key demographic information. But we got an issue with that. It was not enough because our objective was to be more inclusive. And so we realized that there are several people, I would say millions of people with no birth certificates or with people or citizens who have irregular documents. So a new law arrived, and this new law allowed us to, I would say, to provide them a legal identity. So in 2018, we adopted a digital code, one of the most advanced digital code in the region, and I would say in Africa. Transform, it's clear, and this digital code established the Personal Data Protection Authority first, and also established other agencies like the National Cybersecurity Agency. This digital code also grants legal value to electronic documents, electronic signature, and also supports the development of the digitalization of public services and lays out the foundation of a secure, trusted digital identity ecosystem. In addition to these legal and institutional reforms, several digital infrastructure and platforms have been deployed. from 2020 and to 2021. We deployed a national data center, a PKI public key infrastructure for everything related to electronic documents, to integrity, to manage the integrity of the data and so on. We also deployed a national interoperability platform, plus, of course, a national public services portal. Let's now explore how these solid foundations connects identity to the economy and to public services delivery through interoperability. Next slide, please. Our digital identity strategy is centered on the interoperability of key national registers. We connect identity to civil status, to service delivery, and to the economy. This digital backbone enables institutions to verify, share, and use data seamlessly. You cannot see the register here, but they are there. From land to taxes, from education to health, from social protection to education, and vice versa. This is the way how we see, I would say, our transformation. We want to build in Benin a trust framework where we can provide seamlessly services to our citizens. Now, let's look at some few statistics. Next slide, please. Today, more than 13 million people registered in our national person register. Globally, it's close to 98% of the population. Over 10 million identity documents have been issued. And right now, we are processing close to 200,000 biometric authentication per day, thanks to the mobile operators. We are also, as I said before, we also connected to the public institution and private institution. Our register is connected to more than 80, I would say, institution, public or not, bank, and mobile operators and so on. The success is not accidental. As I said before, it is the result of strategic choices and strong foundation. Next slide. The key factors that make this transformation possible are based, I would say, on 4 pillars. 1, people. You know, in Benin, we have decided to ensure that we have the right people at the right place. We adopted a decree where we are able to attract Beninese from the diaspora and every other citizen. Wherever they are living, they can come in Benin to contribute to our transformation, depending on the skills. In our agency, we have different type of profiles. We have data scientists, we have legal advisors, we have engineers, we have everything. And this is important. This is key for our transformation. In addition to that, what is also important is the procedures. People need to follow procedures. Our procedures are guided by lean principles in order to be more efficient. Of course, technology. Technology seems to be an easy thing, but it's very important. But I don't think that is more important than people. But technology is important. And in our organization today, we are providing digital services through different channels, USSD channels, because we want to be more inclusive, web channels, mobile application, and so on. Of course, infrastructures, as I said before, we got a data center and so on. But above all, what is important is the political will and the pragmatic reforms. I would say pragmatic. Our reforms are clearly oriented to fix our problems, to fix the solution. In Benin, when we adopt a law, we adopt it immediately, the implementing decree, in order to be more efficient and to apply immediately the transformation in the population. Among the technologies accelerating this process, there's artificial intelligence. Next slide, please. How do we see artificial intelligence in our agency? in 4 steps. First, citizen intelligence, and also, of course, citizen satisfaction. We use artificial intelligence to have a clear understanding of our citizens, where they are, what are the challenges, what they are looking for. And we are also providing them a mobile application with a chatbot based on AI in order to be informed easily on our services. Of course, data driven. We are using artificial intelligence to make analysis. What we are trying to do, clearly, we analyze the data. All data are analyzed every single day, every single minute. You know, what is important? It's important to know that when we are doing massive enrollment, for sure we are making mistakes. For sure we are injecting some errors, some data issues in the systems. So what we are using today AI to fix this issue we have injected in our systems in order to satisfy the citizen. Right now, we are not in the steps where we are already providing insights to our authorities. But the objective is clear. We want to provide insights to them because we are planning today what we call Benin 2060. That's mean Benin 100 years after our independence. We need to provide enough insights to our authorities. What will the Benin will look like in the coming years? Of course, artificial intelligence also automates everything, what we are doing in order to improve our operations. Next slide, please. Our next step, you can see here a global overview of our architecture. We've got all modules, but there's one major module we think which we don't have today is the I would say the mobile wallet. We want to provide to the hands in the hands to our citizen a mobile tool, enough secure, where they can store, present the credential, where they can access easily to the public and private services. This is the challenge. We plan to have it by end of next year. This is also a way how we see inclusion. As we move forward, we remain conscious of the challenge ahead. The challenge, I would say, there are a lot of challenges. Next slide, please. First, we are at a rate of 98%. This is good. This is great. But the last 2% is a big challenge because we need to reach the communities. We need to address those specificities. You know, in our country, there's different type of communities, and every type of communities have its own challenge, its own way of living, and it's important for us to be able to address them. This is another a big challenge. It's the last mile. It's our last mile. Another challenge, of course, is cybersecurity and how we manage all of those things, and also regional integration. At the moment, we are working with Smart Africa and also with World Bank and WURI in order to share, basically to build a trust framework where we can share identities. Data protection is also important, is key. And I will say, and what is also important is ensure that we can our model is sustainable, and we are working on it every single day. So in conclusion, Benin's experience shows that with political will, clear vision, pragmatic reforms, strategic execution, it's possible to build a trust framework, to be inclusive, and basically to reach our objective, provide a legal identity to every single citizen. We plan to have it by 2028, meaning 2 years before 2030. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Mopix team, please activate the mic. It's on. Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
And thank you very much. I make more of that when cooking for me was which has been accepted. And all the things now I'm having excellent ways to experience.
Audio.
Welcome to Malawi, the warm heart of Africa, a nation moving forward, embracing innovation for all its people.
Malawi stands ready to embrace the future, a future where digital transformation is not just an abstract concept, but a reality that improves the lives of every Malawi.
Taking the lead on this initiative is the National Registration Bureau, NRB.
This is the version.
Every person deserves to be seen, heard, and counted. In Malawi, the right to identity is a promise fulfilled. Malawi is proud to be among the few countries in Africa to provide legal identity to all citizens aged 16 and above. With over 12.5 million people registered, more than half of them women, advancing SDG 16.9 and gender equality. Linked with over 30 key public and private sector institutions, the digital ID unlocks access to finance, social protection, and essential services. Through innovation and emerging technologies like AI and blockchain, Malawi has planned for the digital ID wallet. In 2024, 7.2 million Malawians exercised their democratic right, with 2 million voters registered using their offline digital IDs. With the Nzika app and biometric tablets, NRB is expanding from 50 to 250 locations, bringing identity services closer to rural communities. Now, every child receives a national ID number at birth. And when a life ends, it's recorded immediately, ensuring seamless identity throughout life. A national campaign is underway to register every child, giving them a future and protecting them from child marriage and labor. Malawi is globally recognized as a leader in ethical, rights-based digital identity, committed to protecting citizen data and aligning with global digital public goods standards. The National Registration Bureau is building a digital future where every Malawian is recognized, protected, and empowered.
Thank you. My name is Hannah Farrell, and this is what we are in I'm making that and the other session is in Lebanese and these university.
This Bureau NRB has got two key divisions: the Civil Registration and Vital Statistics and the Identity Management Division. Next. I'm now talking about the evolution of the National Registration Bureau for the past decade. Coincidentally, I think we are moving together with the ID for Africa. Since 2014, when the national regulations were adopted in Malawi, we started the registration of births and deaths. We are using the legal framework, the main law being the National Registration Act, which was passed
in 2010. Next. We had a proof of concept for the registration in around 2016, 2017. The operator, you can just quickly forward the slides. And we continued with pilot registration and the mass registration, where over 9 million Malawians were registered in 2017. And right now we have registered 12.5 million Malawians and issued them with the national ID. These are the adult population, and this is representing about 100% of the adult population. We have registered everyone in addition to the continuous registration process. And in total, with the birth registrations of 3.5 million people, we have registered over 16 million people, which is representing over 75% of the total population. And very soon we are going forward to register the remaining population to issue them birth certificates. In terms of the representation of the registration currently, we have registered 53% women and 47% is men. Should be female and male to be realistic. Yeah. So we are also going forward to ensure the sustainability of the national identification. We printing PVC cards to issue to every registered Malawian, and our distribution rate is currently at 100%. There has been an enabler for that 100% because we are using the national identification for voter registration also. Apart from the physical card, we also have an innovation of using a digitally certified document with a QR code, and we also have a digital ID concept on a mobile phone as a on a mobile wallet in a mobile phone for those who can manage. Just proceed, please. Yes, so in terms of the authentication, we are using both offline authentication and online authentication. For the offline authentication, we have a system that uses both the citizen details of their ID number, their fingerprint, proceed please, and also the unique hash of the photo, as well as a to make a digitally certified QR code that could be presented to verify the authenticity of someone who has presented the ID for verification. Please roll down the slide. So the online verification, we are using the mobile wallet on a mobile phone, a smartphone that someone can present for verification what they want to access a service. And we have developed a middleware where all the stakeholders can connect through for the verification. And this middleware would talk to the national registration and information systems, which is a core system, and the response and feedback is given to the middleware, and in turn, the response goes back to the service provider to verify the authenticity of the presented data. Please roll down. Proceed. Yeah, quickly, let me talk about the civil registration. Just continue. The civil registration in Malawi, we have the three components: the birth registration, death registration, and the marriage registration. For the birth registration, I already mentioned that we have registered over 3.5 million births and issued them with the birth certificates. And these birth certificates have got unique identification number that is the same as the one that is issued for the national ID. In fact, the unique ID that is issued at birth will remain the same when somebody becomes 16 years old and is eligible for a national ID. Will be the same when somebody, God forbid, dies. It will appear on the death certificate. In that way, there is an automatic flagging of death in the national registration system because the national ID system has been integrated with a civil registration and vital statistics. Uh, for the marriage registration, the update is that we had 2 institutions which were mandated to register marriages. And as at last month, the law has been passed by Parliament that mandates only the National Registration Bureau to issue marriages. And we have developed a system, a software, and we will continue be issuing the marriage registration certificates, which can be verified and authenticated with our system. For the death registration, we are close to 200,000, and we are, I believe, doing well if we compare it with other countries on death registration, much as the numbers are looking lower. We have benefits and the savings. Just go next slide. This is my last slide. We have saved. We are saving in public administration, in social services, in electoral, by using the digital ID that we have allowed. In agriculture, instead of using manual coupons, we are using digital system to verify beneficiaries. Yes, let me continue. So Malawi, we are better to what the development partners are supporting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for staying on time. Okay. I think we got the Somalia loaded correctly, please. I believe so. We apologize once again.
Thank you. It's coming. It's a technical issue. So in Somalia, I will start with the legal framework. Actually, in Somalia, we have been struggling lack of formal digital structure. We have been struggling, had a fragmented ID systems. So the government has initiated in this first time building national digital ID and back to 2014. But this discussion has been following. In 2019, our Council of Ministers has approved first national ID policy, followed by drafting national ID bill, which was approved by the House of the People, the lower house. We have 2 chambers, but actually failed to pass through the upper house. So after further amendments and consultations with the stakeholders, both chambers has approved national ID law, the first national ID law actually, and data protection law in March 2023. So the law actually establishes
the National Identification and Registration Authority and grants the mandate to issue a legal ID for everyone, citizens and non-citizens. So that is the legal framework we have in Somalia, which actually drive us to adopt a large first digital ID in Somalia. So next slide, please. So we have actually launched our first digital ID in 2023, September, intentionally corresponding with the Identity Day, September 16, and uh, our system are able to provide unique ID number, 11 randomly generated number to all individuals. We're capturing biometric fingerprints and facial, and we are also capturing the biographic information. We're issuing a physical card with a lot of personalized security features and personalized security features. We're also issuing digital card uh, uh, for all citizens and legal residents. The digital version, continue please. The digital version uh, is available both Play Store and Apple Store. Uh, it has capability to actually it allows users to manage their digital ID, store their fractional IDs. It has the capability to do a verification, access to services, and most importantly, control how and whom do they share their data. The platform is consent-based, ensuring all individuals retain full control of their data. Next slide, please. Yes. Uh, our digital version is called i-ON-ETHIOPIA. I-ON-ETHIOPIA is identification in Somali, in our local language. So electronic identification in English. So we have, identification or credentials without verification is nonsense, or it cannot be used. So we actually come up with a platform, a verification platform called Hubiye. Hubiye is a Somali word. In plain English, is verification platform. So that verification platform operates for verification for reliant parties, both public and private, and it is accessible both portal for those who don't have systems and API for those who have systems, and it's secure, and almost several public and private entities are already using the Hubiye platform, which we have very recently launched. Next slide, please. So almost more than 15 public and private entities are now connected to Hubiya platform, and other 15 institutions are in process of adapting Hubiya platform, both public and mainly we are targeting banks, the financial sector, telecom, education services, health services, and all that. This is the interface of Hubiya platform and e-Agonsi. Continue. Next slide. Yes. So for what is our key drivers? First one is the political will. We had a political will in Somalia. Our president, when he was elected, actually, he committed to enforce or implement a digitally identification system across the country. And he actually, with his support and the support of parliamentarians who are with us today, actually, make it possible to adopt the legal framework of the entity and the system itself. So when we have launched the ID, the president and the prime minister become actually first two individuals to register, and this participation gave a significant boost to the public confidence and created momentum, enabling the authority to scale up its registration efforts and work towards ensuring digital ID for all. in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 16.9. So that was the key, the political will and the legal framework that was in place. The other one was the enabling corresponding banks. Before the introduction of the national ID, our banks faced significant challenge on onboarding customers, as 85% of our Somali population lack any form of documentation. This forced banks to rely on informal or incomplete documentation. So only 5% of our Somali population are banked. 95% are unbanked. Only 10% are access to banking. They have passports and other documents. So majority of our people were unbanked and were not able to access to the banks because of the KYC regulations in place. So with the ID launch, the banks become the first sector to collaborate, recognizing that the legal ID would enable them to onboard customers in compliance with the KYC regulations in place. So that was also a key factor for us. The other third factor is the unified fragmented identification system across the country. As I said, we had a fragmented IDs. Different federal member states were having different IDs with different purposes. So this is a unified ID. Unification of that system is where a key driver for us. Improving the law enforcement, we had a uh, pro- probably loose enforcement of our laws. So this is critical for Somalia, where we are struggling and fighting extremists. Actually, it was really a key driver for us. Continue, please. For any effort or initiative had its challenges and misconceptions. When we actually launched and started operations, we had faced misconceptions. Uh, uh, many politicians first linking the ID with the elections or voter card. uh, we were not responsible registering voter registration. Actually, we were only responsible to do national ID registration. So that was a misconception voiced by some of the politicians, while not widespread, but actually this narrative has appeared in the media reports, uh, and we have constant engagement with the public and continuous actually a clear communication to the public. The other key was the misinformation around the data privacy and use. And we have extensively done awareness on the system that's built in security, that has a lot of safeguards, which I will do present afterwards. So the other challenge we have faced is the interoperability issue. The government were having systems, but it was solo. They were not able to communicate to each other. It was really problematic to integrate to our the ID system and our systems. So that was really a challenge. Infrastructure gap and security risks in some of the regions were also a key challenge. Continue, please. So what have we done? We adapted a phased implementation approach where we have done a proof of concept, actually, where we tested the equipments, we have tested the systems so that we don't face failures down the road. We have piloted in the capital and then started mass registration across different regions in the country. So uh, we actually managed to focus using a proper strategy. Uh, so down the road, we have faced challenges in capturing fingerprints has been one of challenges we have faced. So we are actually expanding our technology capabilities. We are introducing iris capture, which is under development. We are also improving our verification capability of Hubia, We're including biometric verification very soon. We also have safeguards. We have the National Data Protection Act enacted. We have the Data Protection Authority established, and we have representatives from the data protection who is attending this forum as well. Next slide. I will talk about the capacity building and standards a bit. In Somalia, we have a limited technical pool. We prioritize in-house resources where they could add most value: software development, oversight, policy coordination, while we were leveraging, experts and support. Uh, so we we partnered with relevant experts. Instead of building everything from scratch, we partnered with expert key players to accelerate delivery. So our goal was speed without sacrificing the control. We have to control and have the oversight and the policy frameworks in place. Uh, uh, you know, uh, Without wasting a lot of time on starting everything from the scratch. So we're actually partnering. So partnership is very important if you want to speed and scale. It is really very important, and I suspect this is the same situation across Africa or some of the African countries. We face limited technical capacity, and which makes it more important to deploy what we have in a strategic way. We have to be very strategic. Smart capacity building is what you can do very well. So I would recommend that in my colleagues. The other key element is the standardization and interoperability. We adopted standardization, international standards from the onset to ensure future interoperability with government and private systems, and avoid vendor locking and maintain strategic flexibility. That was also a key for us. Next slide, please. What's the early impact and lessons learned? Most importantly, it is, the national ID improved self-delivery. Uh, Although we are in the first phase, but we have seen impacts on that aspect. We're building trust through community outreach. So trust is also very important. Where the key potential is for regional integration and cross-border interoperability. We have countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and other countries. ID will be a key for regional integration and cross-border interoperability. What have we learned? We learned legal framework and institutional framework are essential for legitimacy. If you want to establish robust and trustful ID system, legal framework and institutional framework is key. So that's a lesson learned for us. A continuous public engagement, countering misinformation. You have to provide real-time information to the public. Continuous engagement is also a key for us. Technology investment. We're investing more on technology because we're saving a lot as we go along. So we have to think about investing the technology. It is saving us a lot of resource as we continue. Our roadmap is clear. We have started mass registration. I will be very quick. I can see you coming. We have started mass registration very continually. We're actually, in terms of our investment on technology, we are developing now online biometric registration, which actually will reduce our dependence to the physical centers. We have physical centers and mobile registration teams. So this application will help people to register themselves using their mobile phones. It's a new technology. I think some of the countries has introduced this. So our aim is to register 15 million citizens and legal residents by the end of 2025. So probably we will meet the Sustainable Development Goal 16.9, as our latest estimate is population estimate was 18 million. So 15 plus, we are actually capturing, registering everyone who is 15 and above. So probably it's 15, it will be 15 or 16 million people by the year of 2030. So our expectation is to meet a sustainable development goal 16.9. Thank you very much for listening. And our journey was not, it's not about technology. It's about
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am coming. Can you hear me? I'm coming in front of you in all humility to ask for your forgiveness because we have 130 questions. There's no way we can answer even a small fraction of them. So I'm going to ask the honorable speakers to agree by raising their hand and say, I will commit. I would like the speakers to make themselves available in Pavilion 2 in the break this afternoon and meet you. There's huge number of questions that need to be answered, that either they answer them offline themselves on the Slido platform, or please raise your hand and make a commitment to this assembly, magnificent assembly. But I'm in no position to do anything else because we start on time, we stay on time, we end on time. Could you please raise your hand? There you go. These gentlemen have committed. They want to meet you. They want to see you, and they will be in Pavilion 2 Lounge in the entrance and get your questions answered. Okay. Again, we stay on time. Now we are ready for segment 2, which is i-ON-ETHIOPIA. And it gives me great pleasure once again to welcome the Executive Director of the National Identity Program in Ethiopia, Yodahezi Michael, who's also ID for Africa Ambassador. Please give it a round of applause to Yodahezi. I will get off the stage and I will leave the stage for Yodahezi. Thank you. Of course, please, let's thank the speakers, and as they go down the stage, I don't know. Just take a family photo quickly. Yes, and then we move down the stage. Yes. To allow i-ON-ETHIOPIA. I will be back for a segment which is entirely interactive. No presentations, nothing. Thank you. Again, we stay on time. Sorry, Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, good morning again and welcome, welcome everyone again. We're here for the i-ON-ETHIOPIA segment. It's a panel. We'll not spend more than 30 to 35 minutes. First of all, I invite my panelists to the stage. His Excellency Dr. Balata, Minister of Innovation and Technology. I welcome you to the stage. Her Excellency Tigist Hamid, Director General of Information Network Security Administration. I welcome you to the stage. His Excellency Jonas Alamayo, Director General of Addis Ababa Civil Registration and Residence Service Agency. I welcome all of you to the stage. Our panel will be focused on Ethiopia's digital journey overall, and somehow we will touch upon the most important subject to this audience of ID, was the digital Ethiopia overall. We'll have 3 rounds of questions. The first one will focus on foundation and vision. Second one will focus on progress and practical implementation. Third one will be about integration, inclusivity, and the road ahead, because today we're finalizing the Ethiopian Digital Ethiopia 2025 strategy. We're now looking at the next 5 years. We're going to talk a little bit about Digital Ethiopia 2030. So before I start my questions to my distinguished panelists, I would like to talk about, in the morning, I had a chance to talk a little bit about the Ethiopian Digital ID progress. It's a 3-year-old program. More than 15.6 residents have been registered so far. We're scaling not only in the city, but in very rural locations in rural parts of Ethiopia. It's a very big population. We have 120 million plus people. We have, as I mentioned earlier, more than 55 different government agencies, such as tax revenues, uh, financial institutions, trade, a lot of basic services, opening a bank account, buying your train ticket, buying land. Things like this have been integrated into digital ID, so a lot of integrations are happening. We've created dependencies. It's not only about voluntary registrations. Some services make it mandatory to get FIDA, and that's how we're doing the scaling up. We have a good legal infrastructure in place. We've seen Mr. Abdulwali from Somalia mentioning the importance of a good legal framework. So digital ID and digital Ethiopia as a whole has had a very um, good legal backing. We're not only doing pilots and technical projects without legal backing. We have a very good legal legislation in place. Our journey is built on collaboration. It's not a standalone project. All of what we do, starting from the registration we do on the ground up to the cloud infrastructure and the platforms, it's based on collaboration. But at the same time, we focus on technology ownership. Um, for the Ethiopian government, for us, it's important to be sovereign in terms of technology ownership. So technology sovereignty is important. So that being said, I will quickly introduce my distinguished panelists. So His Excellency Dr. Beleta Molla Getahun, he is a cabinet member and a Minister of Innovation in the Ministry of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia, serving since October 2021 to date. He's also a staff member, currently on leave of Addis Ababa University, where he obtained his bachelor's in 2005 and his PhD in 2021, both in philosophy. He obtained an MA Applied Ethics from Norwegian University of Science and Technology in 2008 under the Erasmus Mundus Mobility Scheme. Her Excellency Tugust Hamid, she is a highly accomplished cybersecurity and network engineering professional with 17 years of experience. She began her career at the Information Network Security Administration, INSA, in 2007, progressed from network and data center engineer to director of the Network Engineering and Project Management Department for 13 years. During her tenure at INSA, she led and contributed to numerous critical network information systems in Ethiopia, including Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, National Bank of Ethiopia, Ministry of Defense, and other organizations. Following her tenure at INSA, she served as technology advisor at the Minister of Transport for 1.5 years. She then returned to INSA, serving as Deputy Director General for 1.5, and currently she now leads the administration as a Director General. Her Excellency Tigist Hamid holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering and an MSc in Cybersecurity from Robert Gordon University, UK. His Excellency Jonas Alamayo is a dedicated public leader, currently serving as Director General of Addis Ababa City Administration Civil Registration and Residence Service Agency. He brings extensive experience in civil registration, legal identity, having held multiple leadership roles within the agency over the years. Jonas' professional background also includes impactful service as a public prosecutor and an assistant judge. He holds a master's of laws in human rights at Addis Ababa University, where he also served as part-time assistant lecturer. During his postgraduate studies, he earned his bachelor from Mekelle University, a fellow of the Young Africa Leaders Initiative. Jonas combines legal expertise, leadership, and a deep commitment to public service, bringing a well-rounded and forward-thinking perspectives. Now we start with the first round of questions. So the first question is to His Excellency, Dr. Beleta. So we talk about, in the first round, foundations and vision. Where is Ethiopia now in terms of the strategic foundation? As outlined in the Digital Ethiopia strategy, digital public infrastructure is a key enabler, forming the backbone of what we call the Ethiopian stack. Dr. Beleta, Digital Ethiopia 2025 was a bold and visionary roadmap from perspective, how do you assess its progress so far? And what have been the key enablers or constraints in turning strategy into impact? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Good afternoon. Such a pleasure to be a part of this awesome gathering. And I should say there is no better time than today to discuss about the achievements and perhaps gaps of Digital Ethiopia 2025, as we are coming to end of the implementation of the strategy. The strategy has been on implementation for the last 5 years, and now it will come to an end this June. So that's why I said there was no better time, than now or today. So let me approach the question from a wider, rather philosophical or human perspective, that talking about digital transformation is not about a technical project. It's about a human project, because when we design a strategy, policy, digital strategy, policy, we have to always understand that we are putting the human, the subject, at the center of our implementation. So dealing with digital transformation is dealing about most profound philosophical questions, issues, and concerns, such as identity, for example, what it means to be, what it means to be a human person, known, recognized by the system. It is also about the profound issues like agency, how to empower our citizens, be themselves, so making decisions themselves. So we have such profound issues always to be perceived at the center of digital transformation agenda: justice, identity, agency, inclusion, and access. So as we build and implement, for example, digital ID programs, we have to make sure that our programs are implemented along with such an understanding. So when we design such programs, we have to take into account ethical dimensions of our program. So it is against this background that I want to address your question, Yodai. Digital Ethiopia 2025 strategy, exactly as you said, is a bold, visionary, ambitious strategy and roadmap, but it is designed to be much more than just a roadmap. It is actually a national commitment, a commitment that aims to redefine, reimagine, and also to repurpose how the Ethiopian state, the Ethiopian societies, the Ethiopian economy, and everything could go along with the digital age, how the Ethiopian state could adopt with the digital age and so on. So it's all about empowerment. So from a leadership perspective, I should say that the digital journey is still unfolding. There will come no point of ending. It's a process, a never-ending process. We may come up with strategies, we satisfy and exhaust timelines and so on, but there will never come a time when we say that we have now come to a closure. We have now no need for introducing new digital strategies and policies. We always march along. So that being the case, I can confidently tell that we have, in the last 5 years, we have been able to score strong foundational achievements. We have a foundational strong achievement so far. But like I said, there is no ending. We still are trying our best in terms of pooling resources, capital, putting together efforts and so on from government and private. So, so far in 5 years' time, when we take, for example, pillars like digital ID, digital payment systems, and interoperability platforms, data exchange platforms, we have moved from strategy to action across such critical pillars. So taking digital ID, for example, it was being stated this morning, about 50 million Ethiopians have been registered. This is quite remarkable. This is maybe the size of like 2, 3, or 4 African peoples put together. This is remarkable. But our aim, our target is very staggering because Ethiopia is the second most populous nation in Africa. We have about 120 million people. So the effort shall continue. And when we take digital payment systems, this is an area where we have achieved so much, I can say. Now that we have two operators, Ethio Telecom and Safaricom, together, we have been able to affect 90, about 90 million people, 86 to 90 million people who are using mobile apparatus. This is, I mean, one critical aspect of digitalization. Also, about 52 million people are using data, internet. This is what it means to empower people, in any case, so that they can leverage the digital development to their own benefits. And when it comes to data exchange platforms, we are also working on that, I mean, meaningfully. So we are moving from strategy to action across such critical uh, pillars. And when we talk about enablers, because the question is about progress, enablers, and gaps. Enablers, I think, just to mention a few, high-level political commitment is one of the most important enablers so far, so that we have come all along, I mean, because of such a high-level political commitment. Also, whole of government approach is another enabler to be mentioned. Now that ministries, government agencies are having better coordination platforms. I mean, 5 years back, most of the government agencies were working in silo, no cooperation. But now we are coming up with the structures, the steering committees structures, interministerial structures. We are also building legal frameworks that would facilitate, cooperation between and among government agencies. So this approach, whole of government approach and coordination, is also another enabling factor to be mentioned here. But this success and achievements are not without success, I mean, without gaps, challenge. We have outstanding challenges that remain to be, for example, gaps in capacity, the skill gaps. This remains to be one of the outstanding challenges that we have. Also, some institutions have inertia. They don't just move. So this is also another important challenge. Again, infrastructure, capital remains to be a challenge. I mean, Ethiopia being a vast country, not just demographically, but geographically as well, we still have areas, regions that remain to be remote. So reaching out to such communities, places, remains to be a very huge challenge. So, I mean, despite all this, we have been adopting, our approach has been adoptive. We have been learning, adjusting, and we are building not just systems but governance, because it's about governance. So these are my few points I want to say about the question, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Belleta. You gave us a very good summary of Digital Ethiopia. It's a national strategy. You also mentioned the whole of government approach, which is a good segue to a question that I'm going to pose to Excellency Tigist. The Digital Ethiopia Council is set up in Ethiopia. It's a highest policy body. It's chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister. So can you elaborate more about the role and the key principles of the Digital Ethiopia Council, and how is it helping with the whole of government approach towards digital.
Thank you, Yudahi. Welcome everyone to ID for Africa 2025 Summit. As an ambassador for ID for Africa, welcome to your second home and the land of origin. I would love to mention some, first of all, I would love to start from the structure of the Digital Council. As Yodahi mentioned earlier, the Digital Ethiopia Council is established by our Prime Minister and it's chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister. To mention some of the structural aspects, we have been asked INSA, the secretary for the Digital Ethiopia Council. It's integrated with different government sectors from the policy and legal aspect. Ministry of Innovation, Dr. Belleta is there. From the infrastructure and utility aspect, Ethio Telecom is part of the Digital Council. We do have AI. As we all know, emerging technologies is a key point for making a robust digital transformation in the country. And we do have other Prime Minister Office and other entities part of this structure for the Digital Ethiopia Council. Beyond that, we have a private sector as a key enabler for the Digital Ethiopia Council, and we do have 3 private sectors representative to this Digital Ethiopia Council. The main objective for this Digital Council is to lead, as mentioned earlier by His Excellency Dr. Belleta, to lead the digital transformation as well as the Digital Ethiopia 2025 strategy. For that, the Council is leading all the initiatives from the government aspect, from the policy, national initiatives, and beyond. From that aspect, the role, specifically the main role that Yodahe was mentioning, is the first thing to mention and to enhance interoperability between different government organizations. As we all know, we do have a siloed approach in investing in technology in different government organizations. So since resources very scarce, as most of our colleagues from the previous panelists mentioned, we have not that capability to invest here and there. So the Digital Council is mandated to collect and to integrate each investment from the technology aspect, from infrastructure, from cloud, from data center, and other aspects. From that aspect, interoperability is the main pillar of the Digital Ethiopia Council. The second one, security. As we all know, data privacy and data security was mentioning here and there. So in order to have a data privacy as well as inclusive and data accessibility, we have to have a secure by design principle from the scratch of building technological investment. The third one is to encourage the local entrepreneurs. So as we mentioned earlier, the Digital Ethiopia Council is led by the Digital Ethiopia strategy. So enhancing the local capability, specifically local companies should be the pioneer for making the digital transformation and the digital economy to be to play their key role. So we do have that pillar as well. The third one is using open source. As it is mentioned early in the morning by the keynote speech of our Prime Minister, we focused on open source in order to reduce and minimize the dependability on maintenance, upgrading, and other aspects of the vendor-locked systems. So as we have seen, National ID, our FIDA system is started from open source MOSI platform. So we use that principle for all national platforms to use and to build up on the top of open source platforms. So this is one of the key role that the Digital Council is following. From this aspect, the main thing, in order to have a capable and ensured infrastructure, we have to have the capacity building as well. As we all know, we do have 5 million coders initiative as Ethiopia. So National Digital Council also leading the capacity building and knowledge transfer from different sectors to be in the same table and to be led from the sector. So the main thing that the Digital Council the last 2 years did was, of course, following all the digital initiatives, national initiatives, interoperability, as well as key priority areas. So that national ID was one of the key priority area. that the Digital Ethiopia Council was leading and following in order to reach the 50 million enrollment. But we have to have following up on the other aspects from the accessibility of the system and others from the system aspect. But the main concern that we have been working is it will create transparency and accountability, since national ID has and other systems need data privacy, as well as, it's a controversial thing, data privacy as well as data security. And in the meantime, people should have accessibility. We have to make sure no one is left behind. So since we are leading at the national level, we are considering the rural areas, women, and disabled people as well in being inclusive, since it needs a detailed follow-up and accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellence Text, for describing what the Digital Ethiopia Council is all about, what it does, and what its principles are. Next, I go to the city government of Addis Ababa. I'm sure coming in, most of you have seen the tremendous transformation the city is going through. If you have not, I welcome you to take a walk in the city. It's a beautiful infrastructure. The corridor development project is one of the biggest projects happening here in Addis. So to Jonas, who's the DG of civil registration here in Addis, the first question would be about Addis Ababa is not only developing its corridors, you're also taking part in the digital economy. You're supporting the digital ID project fully. What can you give us as an example? Public events, awareness creation. How are you making sure that the residents of Addis Ababa are keeping up with not only the physical and the infrastructure transformation, but with the digital way of doing things, including the FIDA registration campaign? If you can tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, thank you, Yodahe. Welcome everyone once again. So when you talk about Addis Ababa is striving to build a new smart city. We have considered that the ID management system is one of the pillars for smart city. In a simple way, smart city cannot be realized without identity management system. So as civil registration and residency service agency, we are striving to strengthen the identity management system in Addis Ababa so that the city administration will give effective and efficient service to the residents. Because of the fact that one of the concepts of smart city is digital governance. So Addis is not only building the physical infrastructure to make livable for the residents, but also to realize digital Ethiopia 2025. Coming to your question, we have been engaging with FIDA registration for the past months. What we are doing is not only creating an awareness for the residents, but also for the government structure. The modalities that we have been using for awareness includes not only for government structures, but also school educations have been also included in this case. As far as identity management is concerned with the system, we should have to engage the importance of both civil registration and digital ID in the next generation, so that the government will enroll in this education system to create the digital Ethiopia that we want. So for the past months, we have engaged in different public awareness campaigns, medias, and face-to-face trainings for various stakeholders, including public servants, security personnel, and so on. So what we are looking deep into the administration is the commitment that we are seeing for the past months. This is a very serious importance that it should have to be learned in this case. The commitment from our Prime Minister to the Mayor of Addis Ababa is, it is an important role for the successful accomplishment of registration. You can see that for the past 2.5 years, we have registered 5.6 million digital ID registrations. In just 5 months, we have made possible with other stakeholders, including our own Ethio Telecom, that 2.6 new registration have been achieved. So engagement in this case can be expressed in terms of commitment by the city administration, not only in commitment in terms of political commitment, but also investment. The investment that is invested in Addis Ababa civil registration is, tremendous. So I can say that the commitment is there. We are cooperating in line with civil registration and the ID platform, so that we can say that the awareness creation campaigns and educations are going well.
Thank you so much, Excellency Jonas. Next, we have a few questions up in the slide. On the second round, we'll do it a little bit faster. The top question here is, how is Ethiopia harmonizing digital ID with birth registration? So I'll come back to you. But first, let me ask Dr. Beleta about the impact. When we talk about Digital Ethiopia 2025, there is financial inclusion, there is service digitization, digital trust. How are these linked to ID, to FIDA ID? How do you see financial inclusion, service digitization, and digital trust and digital ID working together?
Thank you. Thank you again, Yodahi. The digital ID through the FIDA system is probably the most fundamental enabler for digital transformation. If a digital transformation is to happen, it must be that we put in place digital ID systems. Without putting in place digital ID systems, I doubt if this transformation could happen, because this is the most probably the most fundamental key element. So in digital ID is all about identity, agency, about justice, inclusion, and access. And when we design it in a way that identities are taken not just as a tool, but as in itself. Identity is a foundational public good. So is an end in itself, because it enables rights, it enables access and inclusion. So coming to the question, we have three areas where digital ID is impacting. One is financial inclusion. I mean, being a simple adoption of digital ID through the FIDA system, and being a verifiable digital KYC. Digital ID is now enabling financial institutions, the traditional banks, and perhaps digital banking systems to bring on board societies, marginal societies that previously used to be marginal societies, like low-income communities, rural communities. Women and youth are being transformed. So it's definitely affecting financial inclusion. And service delivery is also another important aspect of digital ID application. Now that it's being applied in social platforms, civil service platforms, legal platforms, not just in financial platforms. So it is creating trust. It is promoting trust. I mean, people are more inclined to come on board to a digital platform if there are laws, legal frameworks that would protect their data and privacy. So we have just introduced and approved a personal data protection law last year that would provide the platform, an environment, so that people would have trust to come on board to digital ID systems. So these are some of the issues. I mean, that can be said. I mean, key enablers of the key impacts of digital ID application. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're being told we have less than 8 minutes left, so we'll quickly go through the questions. The next one is there has been mention of data exchange. It's a part of the digital stack in any country. We have in Ethiopia launched something called MESO. Maybe Excellence Tigist, if you can elaborate about MESO.
Thank you, Yodai. For the sake of time, I will try to make it a bit brief. I will start from the definition of Masov. Masov in our language means a plate that a family can share their main dishes. So we name it, of course, the abbreviation defines for modern Ethiopian service for organized benefit. But as abbreviation, it means a shared plate for a family dinner or any meal. So why we mentioned Masov? Since different government organizations use different siloed approach in providing service to the public. So that gives, of course, the people will criticize the government service as well as the efficiency and other uh, issues will be impacted. So to relieve that, last 2 months before, we inaugurate MESOF as organizing different public sector service providers to be in one place to give a one-stop service. So the backend from the MESOP's principle is the data exchange principle that we develop ourselves here locally. Because why we are using this, since we are sharing data, we have to have in the same place, we need a national data center concept in order to have data security in the same place. But the main thing behind the scene is using the data exchange platform through the secure encryption algorithms. For instance, my colleague in the previous panel from Mauritania, he was mentioning about infrastructure, PKI. So we do have, as INSA, we are the root certificate authority for PKI service. We integrate these government services in one place, but securing the data behind and accessible to the citizen in adequate time and efficient time. So people, in order to get MESOB service, they will come and use their national ID as the main point of entrance, so that all the backend systems integrated through data exchange platform that developed in-house. Then currently people are using this service. Of course, we would love to add more government services. Currently, we are using for 12 government organizations like the document authentication, Ministry of Revenue, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So everybody to get one single service, they don't have to travel to each ministry offices. So it minimizes the time spent that our citizens going here and there to get that service, as well as the time elapsed to get the very urgent services in one place. So this one-step service is planned to be duplicated to regional offices as well as rural areas in small, movable and uh, addressable environment. So behind MESOB, there is a secure PKI infrastructure as well as a data exchange platform that's developed everything into Indian house from the encryption as well as the access perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, quickly to Jonas, the top rated question up there. It says, how is Ethiopia managing to integrate ID with civil registration? So perhaps if you can touch upon that, especially in the context of Addis Ababa, it's not only birth certificates, there's also Kabale ID, which is the resident ID. So all of these civil registration and residential services, how are they being connected to FIDA and to digital ID?
I think the question is a headache to many of African countries. I mean, the link between civil registration and ID is quite clear. It's a burning issue all over many of the countries that are engaging in this platform. For us, although there is an argument which is stated as civil registration should have to be prioritized and the ID should have to follow, or vice versa. For Ethiopia, I think both can go hand in hand. They both are two sides of a coin. So it's in fact it's true that birth registration is a cornerstone for identity management platform, but I think the Ethiopian mode of implementation can be an exemplary in this case. Nowadays, Ethiopia has adopted a new civil registration and family registration law, which will enable these two platforms to implement in a way that can effectively build the digital ID platform. So in the case of Addis Ababa, our agency is responsible for civil registration across Addis Ababa city. We have launched more than 157 one-stop service for birth and days registration. We are also we have also adopted the resident ID platform integrated with civil registration. So I think the Addis Ababa case can be considered as a small model for integration of civil registration and residency service when we come to ID as well.
Thank you. On the final round, let me again ask you one more question. When we talk about inclusion, there's also the risk of security. When you are registering someone without background check, without a lot of other requests, background documents, etc., there is a risk. With FIDA, we register refugees, we register foreigners. In Addis Ababa, we register people that are not residents of Addis Ababa, but they still are here for one reason or another. So how to balance the two?
For the beauty of identity management system is its inclusion nature. The Ethiopian mode of civil registration is quite a right-based approach. It means no one should have to be left behind. So all individuals living in Ethiopia should have to be registered. We should have to bargain the balance between security and inclusion as well. Not having data of individuals residing in Ethiopia will cause a serious catastrophic disaster than not having. So including the residency service in Addis Ababa, we can learn a lot from this experience as well. If you have data of individuals living here in Ethiopia, you have more access to balance the concern of security as well. So Ethiopia is keen to oblige to the international legal frameworks, so we can balance, and I think there is no a wide problem that may occur in this case.
Thank you. To Tigist, you mentioned secure by design. It's an important principle. Perhaps if you can touch a little bit upon the payment gateway, MESO, digital ID, and PKI, how do they all work together to make the life of a citizen as simple and as convenient as possible?
Perfect. As we always mention, security is the main pinpoint for every digital automation and digital transformation. So as Ethiopia, we established INSA back 17 years ago to have our own national security framework. So from that point, we define security. Of course, we have to have defense in depth principle. In order to do that, you have to embed security by design principle in every technological aspects like infrastructure, cloud, automation, everything. It needs to see why we design. When we design, we have to think about security. So when it means by secure by design principle, security is not an afterthought. It should come first from when you design. So we apply this as a security agency. We follow all digital transformation projects first to define during the design phase, so that we have to have a robust and secure infrastructure, automation, human capacity building, everything. So in order to have that, the first thing that we use, as Yodahi is asking from the national ID aspect, we do the design by principle concept in biometrics registration aspect, and then from the data storage as well as data in transit aspect. So we design when we are going to implement any project, we have to start thinking about security first. It's not a stack that comes at the last. So we have to think about that in every technological aspect. The main thing behind the scene, encryption should come first when you design. In order to have a data storage, data transition, and data access, you have to think data security from design level. The second one, from payment gateway aspect, we have to think about, of course, from the national security aspect, we always focus in tokenization, end-to-end encryption, and following international standards when it comes to secure by design, like PCI DSS and other payment requirements. In order to have the payment gateways should be secure by design. The last one, from the PKI aspect, since we are launching in the last September the first national PKI infrastructure that developed locally here in our country, We use this integration for our electronic passport, electronic documentation, and electronic ID systems. We integrate the certificate for data in transit and data storage. I think for the sake of time, I will end up on this.
Thank you so much. We're running over time. Just if you allow me, Dr. Joseph, just one to wrap up, Dr. Baleta. We have your counterparts here, many African countries represented. So what can we share from the journey of Ethiopia Stack, from the Ethiopian digital transformation journey to others?
Thank you. Definitely, we believe there should be lessons to be learned from the Ethiopian experience of digital implementation. And what I tell now to our African brothers and sisters and beyond is what we actually did. Start with a strategy, because without having a strategy, we cannot have a clear direction about how to make digital transformation actually happen. So we need to start with a strategy actually that is rooted in our national priorities and in our local realities. So you need to also, this is what we did, as I said, focus on some sectors that have the potential to transform livelihoods. In our case, the digital strategy is centered on agriculture, tourism, mining, manufacturing, and digital enabled services. We invest on this so that transformation could happen. And my other point as a lesson to be learned is design a strategy for coordination. I mean, a strategy may be impressive, but if it is not allowing coordination between inter-government sectors, agencies, it would be difficult to implement it and to make a transformation happen. So in our case, like I said earlier, we have a council, we have interministerial steering structures, we have also the necessary legal frameworks and policies put in place. So we need to have this, we have to make sure this may be a lesson to be learned. Also, we need to invest on public trust. We have to have the legal frameworks that would give our public the confidence when they come to digital transactions. So these are my points.
Thank you so much. Please thank my panelists.
You did. Round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Such a pleasure. Okay, thank you, Yodehe and colleagues, for an excellent and insightful session on how Ethiopia's various stakeholders are collaborating to shape the country's digital future. Now we want to move into the next exciting segment, and it's very different, where we focus on Africa's top 5 authorities, and together we'll examine how they are evolving into public utilities enterprises. The focus and the metric for success change, as we shall see. I would like to call to the stage from Nigeria, Engineer Abisoye Koker Odusote, who is the Director General, CEO, National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI. From Kenya, I would like to call Dr. Christopher Wanjau, Secretary, National Registration Bureau. Ghana, Teresa Esson Benjamin, Head, Legal and Compliance, National Identification Authority, NIA. Mauritius, actually, please, here. Mauritius, Devender Gopal, Permanent Secretary, Prime Minister's Office. And last but not least, from Morocco, Mohsen Yedju, Director, Morocco EID Project, General Directorate for National Security, DGSN. Mohsen, vous êtes là? Okay, actually, I will continue while the team tries to locate our fifth. They are all ID for Africa ambassadors. Thank you for having warmly welcomed them. You are on the stage for an important reason. You are the heads of the top 5 identity authorities in Africa. You have been assessed using the ID for Africa ISEF, which is ID for Africa ecosystem, identity ecosystem self-evaluation framework. And you were the top countries. So yes, qualitatively, we knew that, but it was very, very interesting to see that you all scored very highly in that regard. In past AGMs, our community had many opportunities to hear your progress. You gave reports, you tracked your impressive achievements over the years, but today we're taking a different approach. We're going to focus on the road ahead. So please advance the slide. So what does this slide mean? The road ahead is identity needs to become a public utility, just like water, just like electricity. So we talk about digital public infrastructure, but now we're talking about the institutional arrangement. Like, how do you manage digital public infrastructure? You become a digital public utility enterprise. So let's try to understand what's involved and where are we heading in these 5 African countries. So now let us start. This session will unfold in 6 rounds. In each round, we're going to focus on a specific topic. And then in each round, a pre-selected subset of the panelists will have about 2 minutes each to share their insights and react. Keep the conversation dynamic and engaging. We will have some polls so that the audience can participate and give us your opinions. So I'll say to the operator, launch the poll. So before we begin the rounds, I want to invite each panelist, starting with Nigeria, to briefly introduce their identity authority, share their perspective on where they think they currently stand in their development journey. Remember, you have 3 minutes each. Let us start with Nigeria. Actually, you should have been mic'd, and please turn on the mic. Could you ensure the mic is on, please? The mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Engineer Dr. Mr. Shote. I am the Director General CEO of the National Identity Management Commission, which is the lead foundational identity in Nigeria, which is a critical component of the digital public infrastructure. Our presence locally at the moment, we have 1,200 offices, including the 774 local government offices in Nigeria. And we also have front-end partners through the ID4D led initiative by the World Bank, where we have engaged the private sector to be a part of the ecosystem. And they are our partners in ensuring that we're enrolling all Nigerians up to the local government level. We have over 10,000 centers under the front-end partner state. And in the diaspora, we have over 200 locations with our diaspora partners. As of this morning, we have been able to enroll 247,541 Nigerians and legal residents. On this journey, we have started to look at different ways on how to ensure that one,
No,
make
I don't
the
need.
lives of citizens easier, and two, how do we ensure inclusivity across board? Ensure that there is no more digital divide, and how do we also ensure that people are financially not excluded from the processes that we have? One of the few things that we have done regarding softwares is to ensure that we have a system-based parametric-enabled modification portal, which is web-based and also mobile-based application to allow you to be able to update your information from the comfort of your home or from a remote location. Another thing that we have recently done is to introduce a main authentication application, which basically allows user consent management and also enables access to different government services and also private sector services. What we have done in that regard is to sort of put power back in the hands of the people to ensure that we use this platform to also address issues around data protection. So which means that any individual can authenticate themselves in real time and the comfort of their home. Another thing that we have done in NIPSI is also to look at the legal institutional reforms. The NIPSI has been updated since 2007, since NIPSI has been established. And right now, it has passed the third year as voted at the National Assembly level. So I want to quickly say thank you to his work, of course, because I have my National Assembly chairman from the Senate and deputy chair from the Senate and also the House of Reps. So Senator Mayor, His Excellency Senator Benga Daniel, please let it know that you're here. You, my office, the chair of the House of Reps, and Dr. Gwalabe, can't see you, you must be here. And we also have the State Minister of Agri is also here. So thank you very much, Your Excellency, for being here. And the reason why I'm actually saying thank you to them is it's a collaborative effort. So thank you. 3 minutes over.
3 minutes over. Thank you for that overview. Thank you. So we move on to Kenya for the NRB, the National Registration Bureau. Kenya?
Thank you very much. Maybe by way of introduction, I'm Christopher Wanjau, currently the head of National Legislation Bureau in Kenya. The National Legislation Bureau was established way back in 1978. So we have been doing legislation in Kenya since 1978. And the first unique personal identifier, ID number, was issued that time. And that has never changed. So what has been changing is technology that we have been using. So we have been having several phases of changes. The first one in 1978, when the first generation ID card was introduced in the country. Then in 1995, we had a semi-automated system that was introduced. And then again, lastly, now we had in 2023, after we hosted the ID for Africa conference in Kenya, we realized that there are still gaps and areas of improvement. So we came up with a very ambitious project, which we are currently calling it a Maisha project. Maisha in Kiswahili means life. And in this project is that we are now linking civil registration, that is birth registration, registration in schools, national ID registration for Kenyans being issued with IDs from age of 18 and above, and also death registration into one system. So for Kenyans who had already acquired ID cards, that is 33 million Kenyans, to avoid disruptions, the new arrangements, they still retain their old numbers. Because sometimes when you introduce new changes or new policy directions, sometimes it affects other existing systems. And we did this because, as you are aware, from the year 2005, the National ID Database or National Integrated Population Registration System
has been in place and has been supporting other both private and public institutions to do authentications of identities across the country. So it was important to ensure that through that arrangement, there's no disruption of services. So for Kenyans who had already ID cards, that 3 million, they retained that ID card. But for those who are now turning 18 years, that is from
I didn't cut off your mic. You ran out of time. Please finish, but just 1 second.
So in conclusion,
just please turn on the mic.
In conclusion, we are saying that Kenya as a country.
The mic is off. Please turn on the mic.
In conclusion, we are saying that Kenya as a country started way back 20 years ago to treat identity management as a public utility enterprise. And that's why we have so many developments that have leveraged in identity cards, including in telecommunications sector, mobile payment, and all those other processes has been there since 2005. Thank you.
Okay, we move on. Yes, we move on to introduce Ghana. Ghana, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the National Identification Authority of Ghana has been in existence since 2006, and it was by the passage of an Act of Parliament. And subsequent to the passage of the Act, there was also the passage of the regulation. So there's a National Identity Register, which is what supports the main act. Now, NIA, having been in existence since 2006, has registered to date a total of 18,725,305 Ghanaians. And we did that within a space of a year and a half. We had done 15 million registrations. And then subsequent to that, we are doing continuous registration. Now, to treat an identity authority as an essential service means that it is critical to the performance of all the objectives of identity in the country and also the functioning of the state. The mandate of the authority makes it easy for NIA to do such, and it is to register Ghanaians in Ghana and abroad, and then also to register foreigners who are locally resident in Ghana for more than 3 months. To do this, we have had the support of government, and I say that government buy-in is very critical when it comes to identification. We have also been able to partner a private sector, so under the public-private partnership arrangements, where we are able to carry on with activities that we do on a daily basis. We have established a very robust identity verification system platform, and this platform does real-time verifications of identity. So if you consider that we have over 18 million people registered, and all of them are using their national ID cards for essential services such as banking, for insurance, for health, for social security. And anytime they want any of these services, we do a real-time verification using their biometrics. And to date, I can say that we have done over 120 million verifications without any hitch. And as of yesterday, statistically, the average of verifications per day was about 270,000 verifications. Now, you look at identity as the fulcrum for all the services that you want to do. If you want to run as a public utility enterprise, then it means that you must be accessible to the general public. So our model has been such that to start the verification and identification process, it was important to conduct a mass registration exercise. If you don't do a mass registration exercise, you would not have the requisite database with which you can do verification. So it is important that you gather enough personal data in a register with which you can now continue to do verifications. Now, it is also important to know that it being the fulcrum. Okay, I conclude. In conclusion, I'll just say that the National Identification Authority has been in existence and has propelled itself from being just a card issuing body to now an identity verification system which is done on a daily basis, and it is done across the country for the benefit of all Ghanaians and foreigners who live in there. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mauritius.
Let me start by saying that we have three main identity authorities in Mauritius. The Civil Status Division, which issues birth and marriage and death certificates, civil status documents. We have the Passport and Immigration Office, which issue passport, and the Mauritius National Identity Card Unit, which issues national identity cards. Now, with regard to enrollment, we have completed enrollment with regard to civil status. We have also completed, we can say complete enrollment, we have completed enrollment with regards to national identity card, because at the age of 18, it is mandatory for any youngsters to register for an identity card. If he does not, he won't have access to any of the services. So, given that there is no one left behind, our focus is more now as using our identity system for public utilities. We are in the process. We have already started using the civil status data through an information platform. We call it information highway to share information with public sector agencies wherever needed. Right. Of course, with all the required precautions that are being taken. This means that at this point in time, we have a multitude of public sector organization with which we are sharing information. For example, we have the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Financial Crime Commission, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Social Security, and there are many more to come. Actually, because our national identity card, the new one, the new generation has just been set up. It is a hybrid system. Maybe when we talk on innovation, we'll come on to that. We are building the required infrastructure to be able to share information, to use this for e-government platforms as well. Because citizens use the national identity card or mobile ID to access online services such as income tax, filing, renewal of driving license, and civil status services. The Social Security uses the national identity card to authenticate beneficiaries of pensions, allowances, and other welfare schemes. We have the health services which use our national identity card to allow them to have access to public hospital. But even the private clinics, the private hospital need this identity card to register patients. So, right. Our focus, as I said, has been shifted from enrollment to public utility.
Yes. We'll come back to you. Okay. Morocco, vous pouvez parler en français sans problème. Yeah, actually.
Je peux parler avec le micro. Merci, Dr. Ater. Donc, je suis le contrôleur généraliste de Mohsin, de la Direction générale de la Sûreté nationale. C'est la police nationale marocaine qui dépend du ministère de l'Intérieur. Donc, depuis les années 50, la DGSN est la garante, le gestionnaire de l'identité marocaine et l'émettrice des cartes d'identité nationale. Nous avons connu plusieurs versions depuis les années 50, plusieurs versions de cartes nationales, jusqu'à la première carte nationale en 2008, qui est une carte nationale électronique. Alors, il faut savoir qu'au Maroc, la carte nationale est à la base de toutes les transactions. C'est-à-dire que pour l'ouverture des comptes bancaires, pour des actes notariés ou pour même aller demander d'autres documents comme le passeport, le permis de conduire, etc., nous avons besoin, le citoyen a besoin de sa carte nationale. Donc, ça constitue un élément essentiel de la vie des citoyens marocains. Donc, j'ai dit que la Direction générale de la Sûreté nationale a émis différentes versions de la carte nationale et vers 2017, nous avons lancé un nouveau programme identitaire marocain pour un petit peu répondre à un besoin de confiance numérique
au sein du Royaume. Donc, ce nouveau programme nous a permis de déployer, de mettre en place une carte nationale d'identité électronique qu'on appelle, nous, version 2, parce qu'il s'agit de la deuxième version de carte d'identité nationale électronique. Et cette carte nous a vraiment permis d'aller vers une nouvelle dimension du digital au Maroc, parce qu'elle permet à ces détenteurs de faire des transactions d'identification et d'authentification auprès des différents fournisseurs de services dans le Maroc, que ce soit en ligne, à travers l'accès à des services en ligne, ou en présentiel, en face à face, dans des agences, etc. Donc, cette plateforme s'appelle la plateforme de tiers de confiance nationale pour l'identité. Elle a été mise en place en 2022. Cette plateforme, pour vous donner un petit peu quelques chiffres, ne fait que doubler en nombre de transactions chaque année. Chaque année, nous avons le double de nombre de transactions d'utilisateurs et nous avons plus ou moins plus de 35% de services en ligne additionnels. Il y a des services en ligne comme l'accès, la création des comptes bancaires. Il y a plusieurs banques marocaines qui font la création de comptes, le KYC, avec notre plateforme d'identification. Il y a beaucoup de services d'État, l'inscription au bac libre, la demande de casier judiciaire. Il y a énormément de services qui se font exclusivement à l'aide de cette plateforme d'identification et d'authentification. Et comme j'ai dit, nous avons aujourd'hui entre 15 et 20 000 authentifications chaque jour qui se font à l'aide de cette plateforme. Nous avons aussi fait évoluer la plateforme en répondant aux différents besoins des différents partenaires, en ajoutant la carte nationale d'ancienne génération. Donc, la plateforme aujourd'hui est inclusive. Elle est utilisable elle est accessible par les 85% de population marocaine qui dispose de carte nationale.
Excellent. So I hope you had an overview of the 5 top identity authorities on the continent. Now we're going to start talking about strategy and more details. So the first round, I would select 3 countries, and I'll refer to them by the name of the country, that we're going to talk about. The topic is going to be finance. Okay? But before I do that, we do have a poll. So please prepare to answer the poll via Slido. Operator, could you please launch the poll? So the poll is in front of you. It basically says, how should the identity authority be financed? So you have 4 choices: predominantly government funded, predominantly self-financed through service-based revenue, donor and long-term development loans, like you can take a $200, $300 million from an international institution to build your identity authority, or private-public partnerships, PPP. Please vote, everybody. We need your input. Operator, is it possible to get a real-time view of what the polls look like? Here's the poll. Keep going. Give me the mic, please. Maybe I'll watch my back. Okay. Keep voting. Okay. Now I have my mic back. Do you have any sense how many people voted? Operator, could you please tell me how many people voted? And then stop the voting. Okay. Could you put up the results on the screen? on the big screen. Put up the results of the poll on the screen. It's quite actually interesting. 46% said it should be government funded. This is the responsibility of the public budget education. But it's quite interesting to see 30% said it should be PPP, a public-private partnership. I did not expect it to be this high, but that's interesting. Then self-funded and self-financed, 18%. It's basically you don't really believe you should be a business. And then 4% said you should take donor money. Okay, so freeze that slide, take a photo of it, because it will be tweeted, I'm sure. Okay? So take a photo of it and take it off. I would like to start Kenya, Nigeria, and Ghana for this round. Kenya, what are your thoughts about how identity authorities should be financed?
Here you go.
Kenya first. Okay. Can you speak?
Thank you very much.
Operator in the back, the mics are not working. I mean, we are in the age of AI and we cannot get mics working. What do we need to do? Please give this mic some energy.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me clearly. My proposal is that identity systems usually are a bit expensive and involves substantial investment. And sometimes it's also the mandate of the government. Like now in Kenyan case, it's the mandate of the government to issue the institutional documents. And ID card or identity document are also classified as part of the human rights that citizens of that country enjoy. So as such, a lot of investment should be by the government. And also, given the fact that so the mandate of the government and is a human right to acquire identity, it is the first time identity cards is issued for free. So government funding for this matter is very important. But of course, for replacement and other processes, we usually, as the National Decision Bureau, charge some fees, and those fees can we usually use it to support our system. So we can advocate for a hybrid system where there is part of government funding and then the resources that are generated through the fees that are charged in the issuance of identity cards, and also verification of online verification or real-time verification can also be used to fund identity authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya. Nigeria, what models are you exploring to generate revenue while maintaining universal access so that if people cannot afford it, you're not going to exclude them? So what are your models for generating revenue?
So as you know that the need is free, Nigeria for enrollment.
Right.
But we charge for need enrollment and modification of diasporas. That's a revenue generating model. And we also charge donor fee for modification if you want to update by the services modification platform. And then another thing that we're also working on, which we're in process of, is the PKI. We have a national PKI here for Nigeria. And we are trying to, which is a process to issue certificates, to all the ministries, departments, and agencies. So that would be another revenue generated. We do charge license and accreditation fees for the front end partners that we have. And then the verification services of the KYC for the banks, the telcos, the fintechs, the insurance companies, the various ministries, departments, and agencies. We charge for the KYC service.
Let me ask you, when you charge, does it come directly to you or it goes to the Ministry of Finance?
So 100% to the Ministry of Finance,
okay.
But we've got an approval to be able to keep 40% of that revenue generated.
Excellent. And another aspect of this, how much is the percentage of your budget today is coming from revenue generation? Is it 10%, 20%, and growing, or where are you?
So I would just say it's pretty low at the moment.
Right.
But I'm sure that with the PKI certificate issuance and ensuring that we do that for the private sector, not just the public sector, we will be able to generate a lot more. So as it stands right now, we have the PPP with the 1914 project by the World Bank, where they have provided for enrollment to enroll 114 million Nigerians. And then also we have existing budgets. So our budget was very low initially, but with the able support of the National Assembly members that are here, we have been able to get a slight budget increase to be able to support.
It's likely to increase. So you do believe it's fair for the Identity Authority to charge for services rendered?
I do believe that it is fair. I think that we should be able to charge, but then make sure that it's not excessive due to, putting in mind that people keeping people at the forefront of what they're thinking. So we should charge this.
Okay. Now I want to go to Ghana. Ghana, you've taken a very different approach. You did not take a loan to kickstart your Ghana card. You did not burden the government budget with any allocation. You created a very unique and interesting private-public partnership. And so could you explain the pathway that Ghana took to fund its Ghana card, and how is it working?
Thank you very much. So yes, the Ghana model is premised on a public-private partnership arrangement. Now, in this arrangement, we looked at which party is best placed to manage a risk. So we looked at government. Government's risk would be operational, policy, all the things that you have to do to make the registration successful. Then if you look at the private sector, they are invested in technology and they are funding and they're looking at international best practice, and they're also looking at avant-garde ways to develop all the technology that supports the work that the project does. So having assessed it, we concluded that the private sector was best placed to handle the technology, and then the government was best placed to handle the operational activities as well as the policy. But in doing that, we ensured that because of sovereignty, the policy, the data that we collect still lies within the ambit of the government, and that it is not in the hands of the private sector. And to do that, we also considered the fact that if you look at the private sector, they also have in the PPP model funded the project. So the investments came partially from government, a fraction of it from government, and then a fraction of it from private sector. And insofar as you have invested in a project, you make sure that you work with it to the very end, that it is successful. So our model has been such that for now, for all the work we have done to date, there has been deep involvement from both the private and the public sector into the development of the identity ecosystem in Ghana.
Now, who owns the database?
The database is owned by the government of Ghana. Prior to the commencement of the PPP project, it was important for the government to make sure that all data-bearing assets were transferred to the government if there were any that were in the hands of the private sector. And then also the ones that were being acquired were also in the hands of government. So it is government that manages and owns the data-bearing assets of the authority of the country.
How long is such a PPP arrangement contract? How long do you sign a contract for PPP?
Okay, so because of the long-term benefits that must come into a PPP project, we considered a 15-year model. We are currently in year 7 of the model. And for that 15-year model, what it is that our process is based on the generation of revenue to finance the project. So apart from the investment that the government and the private sector made in year 1, all subsequent years, the revenue that we generate from the projects goes back into the projects to finance it and then also to generate revenue for the country. So you would see that you asked the question about where the money sits. For Ghana, there's an escrow account. And in that escrow, the monies that we generate from revenue, and revenue comes from replacements, updates of your personal information, and then if you lose your card. But for the first time registration, it is free of cost because we want a total inclusion. And if you add a price to the first time registration, then a lot of people in the country would not be able to afford it. But once you have onboarded people onto the Ghana card, then subsequently, if they are to lose it or they want to update their personal records, it comes at a small fee. But the most important part of the revenue generation model is actually the identity verification.
Yes.
So the identity verification is having given 80 million or so Ghana cards to Ghanaians. Now, what the banking sector is doing in the social sector and also the health sector, what they're doing is that they're leveraging on the Ghana card for all the services. So if you come to Ghana, the National Health Insurance Authority, for instance, does not produce any ID cards. They are piggybacking on the Ghana card. And anytime they do a verification of an identity in order to either pay a claim or render a service, they pay a little fee, and that goes into our escrow, and that services the project completely.
So let me just clarify, because very quickly we need to keep moving. You're saying they're not using the actual card to verify the identity? They're still using an online verification?
No, what I'm saying is that for the health sector, for instance,
Right.
the past they were issuing national health ID cards,
Right.
and then we're also issuing national identity cards. But the national ID card that is issued in Ghana today has a capacity big enough to house the entire operational apparatus of the National Health Insurance Authority. So now, rather than issue two different cards, one for health and one for national identity, or maybe one for health and one for social security, now all these cards are piggybacking on the Ghana card. So if you swipe the Ghana card or if you do a verification against your Ghana card, then you can proceed to have a service using the Ghana card for health and the rest of it. Yes.
But at that point in time, there is a transaction fee, no?
Yes, but in the model is such that you look at the agency and what it stands to lose. So, for instance, if you look at the banking industry, they're looking at issues of fraud and anti-money laundering and the losses that they were having as a result of the identity systems that they were using. So now they would rather pay a fraction of revenue to the national ID or National Identification Authority, and then be able to reduce the rate of fraud in the company. They don't pass that on to the clients. They, as a banking sector, they sort of take on the cost. It's a very small cost. And then for that reason, they reduce the rate of fraud in the country.
Okay.
That is how they do it.
Okay, I understand. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to move on to the next round. And in this round, I will have Morocco, Mauritius, and Kenya. In this round, let me motivate the round. In recent years, a new class of actors has emerged, private identity verification companies that operate between identity authorities and relying parties. Some have secured valuations between $1.5 to $2 billion, highlighting how critical and valuable this function has become in the digital economy. This raises a key question. How can identity authorities claim their fair share of value in this growing ecosystem while staying true to their public mission of inclusive access? Finding that balance is both a challenge and an opportunity, and is ultimately comes down to one thing: the business model. What is your business model? So that's the focus of this round. Before I start this round, I'd like a second poll. So operator, please launch the second poll. So here's the second poll, and the poll says, what role should the identity authority play in transaction authentication, identity use? So somebody would say, focus on KYC only. Let functional programs manage authentication. Don't get in the business of managing every transaction. That's not your business. Just authenticate the person when they get onboarded and they become for KYC. Second is offer transaction authentication services directly. Actually, it moved because there was voting going on, so it moved the list. Actually, next poll, when you do it, please leave it static until I read it, and then you run the results. So there are three options for you. Licensed third parties to provide transaction. Okay, so focus on KYC only. So let functional programs manage authentication. So health program, banking program, they use the national ID to onboard people. So that's eKYC. Or offer transaction authentication services directly. Like Aadhaar in the old days, they used to transact every transaction, they used to authenticate it. You could be buying something, you will be authenticated using your Aadhaar and your biometric. Or licensed third parties to provide transaction authentication using the national identity data. So you've launched the poll. Please bring the real-time view. So let's see what the voting looks like. Okay. So we could see interesting results. We see neck to neck between two options.
Interesting.
You're basically saying you couldn't be on authentication services directly. That is not your mission as an identity authority. Your mission should be either in eKYC or enable an ecosystem of third parties that's going to be doing this. Okay, freeze the poll, take a photo of it, and put it out on the media. Okay, now I want to go to Morocco. Morocco, how is the DGSN enabling identity verification? You really had a vision. You've created a platform which was based on an ID card, smart ID card, but then you've created something that goes beyond in order to allow identity verification by third party, etc. Could you please explain your model?
Oui, alors déjà, je vais aller à l'encontre du résultat du poll qui vient d'apparaître parce que je vais expliquer un petit peu les services offerts par la plateforme de la DGSN. Nous offrons d'abord un service d'identification du KYC, que ce soit en ligne à travers la plateforme de tiers de confiance ou directement en s'identifiant à l'aide des cartes, des smart cartes. Nous offrons aussi de l'authentification avec différents niveaux d'authentification, des authentifications biométriques, ça peut être des authentifications simples, avancées, etc., qui nécessitent l'utilisation de la carte ou pas, d'ailleurs. Et nous offrons aussi des services, ce qu'on appelle, nous, des services de fiabilisation de données. Dans des cas spécifiques, surtout entre gouvernements, il y a besoin des fois de vérifier les données d'une base de données d'un organisme de l'État. Donc, nous offrons aussi ce service qui n'est pas un service en ligne, ça se fait de gré à gré, et nous vérifions ces informations juste en répondant est-ce que les données sont exactes ou pas. Nous ne fournissons pas de données additionnelles pour ces organismes-là. Alors, l'ensemble de ces services, aujourd'hui, la décision a été prise qu'ils soient offerts gratuitement pour tous les fournisseurs de services, justement pour répondre aux besoins initial de la mise en place de cette plateforme. Nous avons mis en place cette plateforme pour répondre à un besoin d'abord de confiance numérique. Notre objectif est d'accélérer l'inclusion numérique et l'économie numérique marocaine et aussi de rapprocher le citoyen marocain de l'administration. C'est pour ça que tous ces services-là sont offerts gratuitement aujourd'hui. Je dis pas que cela restera ainsi pour toujours, notamment pour le secteur privé. Nous sommes en train d'étudier quelques business models. Nous avons finalisé cette étude pour demander à des fournisseurs de services qui offrent des services soit payants déjà pour le citoyen, soit qui n'ont pas qui ont une approche un petit peu commerciale. Ces services-là, ces fournisseurs de services-là on leur demandera une compensation financière. Alors, ce sera demandé aux fournisseurs de services, pas aux citoyens. Et l'objectif un petit peu pour ces fournisseurs de services, parce que même si ce sera avec une contrepartie financière, ils vont gagner un peu plus sur toute la fraude, tous les problèmes liés à l'identité, la fraude à l'identité, l'usurpation d'identité qu'ils commencent déjà à éviter grâce à cette plateforme.
Would the DGSN explore the possibility of a joint venture with a private entity that will become essentially the identity verification arm, commercial arm of the government?
Alors, pour le Maroc, les questions d'identité, c'est une question très souveraine, c'est du régalien. C'est pour cela d'ailleurs que c'est géré par la DGSN, par le ministère de l'Intérieur. C'est des questions un peu très sensibles et de protection de données personnelles. Donc, je ne vois pas aujourd'hui la gestion de cette plateforme par une agence ou bien une autorité autre que celle régalienne. Par contre, nous ouvrons la possibilité dans quelques domaines sectoriels de pouvoir déléguer cette partie d'authentification, pourquoi pas, à condition que l'identité ait été préalablement vérifiée par le régalien qui est la DGSN.
There is a little bit of confusion sometimes because Morocco actually has two foundational identity systems. One is run by the DGSN, one is run by the RSU. Could you explain the difference between them?
Oui, en fait, on les confond souvent, mais le Maroc n'a pas deux systèmes identitaires. Le Maroc a un système identitaire, c'est le système qui est lié à la carte nationale d'identité et qui est la base du système identitaire depuis les années 50, depuis l'indépendance. Je dis qu'on les confond avec ce que vous avez dit, le RSU. Le RSU est un registre social, d'ailleurs, registre social unifié, d'où son nom. Il est là pour permettre une identification, un ciblage social au Maroc pour identifier les ménages qui ont besoin d'aides sociaux et de pouvoir leur attribuer une aide sociale directe pour des milliers de familles qui en ont besoin. Donc, c'est vraiment un registre social, le RSU, et la base qu'on appelle, nous, la base de la carte nationale est la base identitaire, ce qu'on peut appeler identité civile ou juridique ou régalienne, c'est la base de la carte nationale.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Mauritius, what mechanism have you adopted for supporting identity verification to enable people to participate in service programs? How does that work?
The Identity Authority in Mauritius adopts a system whereby the authority itself is doing both identity verification and the authentication of transaction. In our identity verification model, government issue credentials free of charge, such as the national identity card or mobile ID, which are served as trusted authoritative tokens that other entities like banks, social security, passport use. With regard to authentication, this is issued by the same authority through our national authentication framework. We think that this model is best suited to us because it is government geared, it enhances trust and allow the state to maintain control over data quality and authentication standards, beside ensuring that our data protection laws are being complied with.
But are you licensing third party to become an identity verification provider? Because identity verification sometimes has many other things. They want address verification, they want some history, there's a whole ecosystem. Are you building regulations that say to the identity verifiers, you can come into our country, but here is the rules of the game?
At this stage, at this point in time, there is we don't envisage to give these services to third parties, just because, as I said, confidentiality of data is a very personal data is a very sensitive matter, and government is not prepared to give this to third parties.
To create that. Okay. Understood. Thank you for that. Kenya, what's your business model? You have you have been having a significant IPRS or whatever database. I'm not sure if I called it correctly, but you do have third party that has been licensed to get access and do verification. Explain your business model end to end.
Thank you very much. In Kenya, we have
no, Mike. Now it's working. I think your headset is working.
No.
Dr. Wanja, your headset may be working.
Thank you very much.
No, it's not.
No.
I think I get back.
Yes. Please find me a solution for the microphones. Yes, I think now you're okay.
Thank you very much. And sorry for that. So in Kenya, we have a dual system where we have both centralized and decentralized authentication. Decentralized authentication we have with our electronic card, which has a dual interface chip, which can be accessed through a smartphone, like NFC. So that way, people in contact or authorities or institutions in contact with that physical identity cards, that is the electronic cards, can be able now to remotely or offline authenticate the details or information in the card. Secondly, we have a dedicated institution, that is IPLS, Integrated Population Registration System, whose role is to offer real-time authentication. And the reason why the government came up with these institutions way back in year 2005 was also to ensure efficiency. Because I know one of the reasons why there is this request or proposal that authentication be done by third parties is because of availability of government systems. So IPLS is a department within the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, whose PS is also represented here, is our guest here. And it operates like a private institutions. The current availability is above 99%, 90% availability. So we don't have issues with other relying institutions, both the financial institutions, banking institutions, telecommunication institutions that usually relies with that system. And additionally, we also have now the government payment solution, that is the e-citizen solution, which has now helped to automate all government payments. About 22,000 government services you pay online, real time, based again on the same system. Thank you.
Imagine a world where 10% of your time, your car doesn't start when you want to go in the morning to work. 90% uptime doesn't sound to me like we are up there. What is holding you up from having 99.99% of the time? If people are going to rely on you, how do you make that higher than 90%? Thank you for the honesty, but that's not enough.
Thank you very much. And I think that's a very good question. And as I have said earlier, that was a system that was developed way back in 2005. There's already a current existing program on upgrading that system, because what happened is that we have more than 500 government institutions relying on that system. Initially, when it was introduced, less than 100 institutions, maybe even less than 100 telecommunication institutions and a few banks institutions. But currently, almost every institution, government institutions, private institutions, have access to that system, and that has affected its availability. But with the current update, we are sure that it will be above 99% availability.
Okay, so this is an example of a digital public infrastructure. It is owned by a government, maybe supported by a private sector, but the key here is that it needs to be secured and it needs to have an uptime that becomes enterprise grade. If we are to become utility companies, I want to open up the water and it comes every day, every moment. I want to turn on the light, it happens. My identity should be available. I think this is a lesson for us and a journey. I respect what you're doing and respect the honesty by which you're trying to get us to an enterprise grade capability. It's not easy. It just shows you, even when you're it's like you're changing the tires on a car while the car is moving at 60 kilometers an hour. So this is really the challenge that you face. Okay, I want to move on to the next round, which is architecture. Yes, architecture. And in this round, I want Nigeria, I want Morocco. So, but before we do that, I want a poll. So please launch a poll. The architecture for identity verification has deep implications to trustworthiness and to privacy. Let's take a poll before we continue this segment. Operator, launch the poll. So the question was, what should be the preferred architecture for identity verification? The one option is centralized verification. Again, operator, please do not show the live because I cannot read it. Yes, centralized verification against a single authoritative national database, or decentralized, verified via distributed credentials like wallets, ID cards, QR codes, blockchain. So we're making it easy. Centralized versus decentralized. Centralized, that's a source of truth that is there. The government controls, we know. And then decentralized, you will never, ever even have to reach a central database to do a verification. Okay, so operator, now you can go live. Okay, so let's see, where are we? So 53%, we're split almost half. 54% is preferring decentralization, and then 46% is preferring, or even high. I mean, really, this community is split on whether the architecture should be centralized or decentralized. I will guarantee you that this topic of architecture is going to come back next year for our AGM, because this is at the heart of trust, at the heart of how we should be building identity verification platforms based on databases of truth. Okay, please freeze it, tweet it, take a photo of it. So I want to start. Yeah, I want to start with Nigeria. Nigeria, what is NIMSI's architecture for identity verification?
I will say that we have moved to the decentralized architecture process. So we have the national EID card, where we have a variant of the card, which is a G2B card, which is a biometric enabled card. It's a government to person card. And what we're trying to achieve with this card is to ensure that we've got all the different government programs on this card to sort of, reach that financial divide and promote financial inclusion nationally. And what we have done is started a pilot of 2 billion. It's the first day for agriculture and for security system writing. A pilot for 2 million farmers in Nigeria. So what we're doing is ensuring targeting and disbursement of grants to the farmers. And that's just an example that we have. We're also working on other use cases regarding, ensuring that enough is able to, individuals are able to, enable any access to whatever government services that they want, and also to ensure they also be able to access the private sector services. What we've also done is to link the NI to the tax for tax identification. We've also done the linkage of the NI to CAC for the identification of the director of that business registration. So done is ensure that it links the NI to credit card, which deals with ensuring and providing and giving access to credit to all Nigerians. That means in as little as giving credit for mobile phone, just trying to bridge the financial divide. We've also done SPEEDAN, which basically handles the nano business, the small medium enterprises. We should also grants to them. We've issued about over 50 billion pounds to 1 million beneficiaries. So we've done quite a lot of use cases for this.
But are you saying that there is not a single use case that would authenticate somebody against the centralized NIMSI database?
Well, there is, which brings us back to KYC.
For eKYC.
And yeah, for the lamps, the tollbooths, the tags, all people's private sector results. We have a verification process.
Okay. Okay.
We have direct links for some government use security databases, but for others, indirect verification. So we have a model.
Okay, but you're predominantly decentralized for identity verification, but you do centralized eKYC because, okay, understood. Okay, Morocco, you would like to talk about your architecture.
Euh, alors, le Maroc, pour sa plateforme, a commencé dès le début à travailler avec les autorités de régulation nationales, notamment protection des données personnelles, la CNDP, et la sécurité des systèmes d'information, la DGCC, pour essayer de définir une architecture qui permettrait à la fois assurer la sécurité du service et des informations et de protéger les citoyens quant à leurs données personnelles. Donc, vous allez tous être d'accord avec moi si on dit qu'il n'y a pas de sécurité à 100%, mais nous avons trouvé que l'approche la plus sécuritaire et qui permettait cela était une approche de tiers de confiance nationale, c'est-à-dire que notre plateforme ne contient pas de données, ne contient pas d'informations des citoyens. Elle permet juste, d'où son nom, de mettre un lien de confiance entre le citoyen et les fournisseurs de services. C'est-à-dire, vous allez me poser la question, où sont les données? Ben, les données sont dans les cartes nationales, dans les puces des cartes nationales, dans les portefeuilles des citoyens marocains. Ils en ont la garde, donc la protection. Ils décident quand est-ce qu'ils veulent partager ces informations en donnant à chaque fois leur consentement quand ils utilisent cette carte nationale. C'est une approche security by design et privacy by design qui ne permet pas des problèmes de sécurité ou bien des piratages massifs qui ne peuvent pas permettre des piratages massifs, comme j'ai dit, parce qu'il n'y a pas une base de données centralisée qui expose les données en ligne.
Now, do you see a situation where the do you see a situation where there is going to be multiple unique ID numbers that are sectorial? Basically, since there is no centralization, you see a situation where there is no such thing in Morocco as the unique ID number, but there could be please give me the unique banking number. And those are related in the back end, but nobody in the private sector could start connecting those. Could you explain that?
Ben, vous avez exactement défini le projet sur lequel on est en train de travailler actuellement avec le ministère de la Transition numérique, la CNDP et le ministère de la Santé, justement. C'est pour ça que je dis. Alors, le numéro d'identité nationale reste l'identifiant régalien du citoyen marocain, mais nous sommes en train d'essayer, notamment dans le domaine de la santé, de générer, d'en soustraire des identifiants sectoriels. Nous avons commencé par ce domaine-là parce que c'est l'un des domaines les plus importants, et, pour essayer d'avoir un ou des données santé, des données sectorielles qui permettent une identification au sein même du secteur.
Yes.
J'avais répondu à l'autre question par rapport, est-ce qu'on allait permettre ou pas de l'identification pour d'autres acteurs dans le royaume? Si la décision est prise d'avoir cette identification sectorielle, dans ce cas-là, il pourrait être, par exemple, donné au ministère de la Santé cette partie d'identifier, mais qui reste au niveau sectoriel de l'identification santé. Et on est en train d'essayer de voir comment on peut mettre ça dans d'autres secteurs dans le royaume.
I want to highlight what he just said. I mean, this is a very, very important. What we talk about my apologies. The technical support is struggling with my mic. I understand they have so many things to do. But what we talk about when we talk about the unique ID number, most of us think about one number across all sectors. That becomes a serious issue for privacy. What Morocco is thinking about doing is generate sector-specific unique ID number, which derives its existence from the source, which is the ID number, that's foundational ID number. So generating unique ID numbers, I could be defined by multiple unique ID numbers, but they are sector specific. It's something that we need to come back to. Okay, we need to keep moving. Now, I want to go to the next chapter, which is the institutional arrangements. And before I do that, I would like to ask the operator to put up a poll, please. The poll is here. What is the most appropriate reporting structure for an identity authority? Line ministry oversight. It reports to a government ministry. It could be Ministry of Interior, Home Affairs, or ICT. Executive oversight. It should be the president's office or the prime minister. This should not belong to a ministry because this should be across all. And it could be an independent commission, should be autonomous with its own governing board. So please vote. What do you think the governance structure should be of identity authorities? This is a very critical question. And for this, I would like to have Ghana and Nigeria participate. But give me the live poll. Okay, this is really interesting. Very interesting. We are seeing a strong preference for independent commission, autonomous with its own governing board. Executive oversight is better than line ministry, but roughly around the same. This is telling us something very important. Okay. So freeze, end the poll, put it on the network, and let us go to Ghana and then Nigeria. Ghana, I want your views about the institutional arrangement and governance on identity authorities.
Thank you very much. So Ghana's National Identification Authority is autonomous. But as part of the arrangements for the work it does, its mandate, there's a section of the law that says that there is a supervisory component for the national identification system, and that is by a minister of state. So in the past, we've moved from one ministry to the other. We started off with, I think there was the Ministry of Communications that had supervisory over us. And then somewhere along the line, it moved to Ministry for Monitoring and Evaluation. And then it's now at the Ministry of Interior. And currently NIA is under the Ministry of the Interior, but for supervision. But it doesn't interfere necessarily in the mandate of the authority. The autonomous nature of the authority is still clear. Now, the NIA has a governing board, and the arrangement of the board is such that there are institutional representations. So for the institutions that use identity more than other institutions for their planning and the policies and all of that. And some of them are for the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Social and SNIT, which is Social Security and National Insurance Trust. We have also the National Health Insurance Authority on the board. We have the Ghana Statistical Service on the governing board. We also have the Births and Deaths Registry on the governing board. And then the Ghana Immigration Service is also on the governing board. So in terms of the governance, the authority is able to work on its own. And then in instances where we need supervisory, for instance, we want to amend our act or we need to make a change to one of the regulations, then we refer to the minister responsible for the national identification system.
Who controls your budget as a line item? The ministry.
Until a few weeks ago, it was the NIA that was managing its own budget.
Okay.
We channel it through the ministry, but in terms of how we manage, how the funds come in and go out, it is the National Identification Authority that still handles the control of it completely.
So what changed?
Given where the world is going vis-a-vis cybersecurity and the amount of data we had collected on persons living in Ghana, we felt that it was important that NIA is seen as sort of a national asset, such that for security reasons, we fall directly under the Ministry of the Interior. so that for any issues that arise with all these cyber-related issues, then we are properly safeguarded under the Ministry of the Interior. It is for that reason that we felt that as a national asset, we should be fairly sitting and squarely sitting under the Ministry of the Interior.
Okay, I understand, Ghana. Thank you for that. Nigeria, same question.
Very similar regions.
Mhm.
She will see where that Ministry of Interior at some point in time under a different administration, we moved to digital economy, then under the SGM office, which is presidency, now market interior.
You started as a commission, no, long time ago. You were a completely independent commission.
Well, we've always been under the Ministry of Interior. So
When it commissioned.
our audience is very this industry. And in NIMSI, because the name is central to the 8-point agenda, Mr. President, what is happening now is we have been able to accelerate and to fight it in as little as 20 months. So we've been able to we have the between use of the different sectors issued to support the adoption of digital public infrastructure across board. So the NIMSI has been amended. Was passed in February and was soon sent to the President for approval. And we have the Data Protection Act. My brother is here from the Data
Yes. So.
Which environmentally enabling census.
Yes.
The chairman here also.
That's interesting.
Not quite a lot. The digital economy bill recognizes as a foundation for identity. And so it aims for all governments for services across board. So we have quite a lot that we do regarding enacting laws, maintaining law to abuse, data protection for cross-border interoperability, especially in areas of financial payments abroad.
Excellent. So basically, the institutional arrangement tends to be an important issue, especially as you become more and more mature. But in any case, you have a governing board which represents the stakeholders. Is that correct?
That is absolutely right. 17 in total. 3 from the private sector, 14 from key institutions that need to be integrated and harmonized based on the use cases. And also we have the security arm of government there from EFCC to the police to the TSS.
Excellent. Okay. We are running out of time and I have 2 rounds. What I want to do, I want to combine these 2 rounds together because I commit to you to finish at 14:30. You are hungry. We apologize and we're going to release you to have a wonderful hour and a half. So I want the panelists to decide what one of these 2 rounds they will answer. Either innovation, in which case they will talk about emerging innovations that they are implementing or about to implement that are exciting, that can shape the future of their identity authority, or advice. What advice would you give the younger identity authorities? So we're going to go everyone in this. Let me start with Kenya, since Nigeria spoke last. We'll go Kenya that way, and then we come back to Nigeria, ending with Nigeria. So you can choose either advice or innovation. So this is innovation, this is advice. So which one do you want to take?
I think business of Kenyan experience deal with advice.
Okay, please give your advice.
So one of the advice that I want to pass on behalf of Kenya is on the need to develop legal policy and strong institutions. Like now, for the Kenyan institutions, the National Ministry of Health was formed way back for 7 years, 1917. It has been there very slow, and it has been able now to deliver identity solutions that they have. The other issue, which is also very critical, is on having laws on data protection, the data privacy, because that's also a very compelling area that may be there in the movement of digital digital administration and national administration. We have done experience in Kenya where that process was not because of mediations, because of other legacy issues. So it is important to have those laws and also a whole institution, data protection institutions, so that it can also help to regulate the usage by that party institutions. Because currently, with more than 500 institutions using national decision database, it is important to have rules and regulations, and that has helped in moving forward. Another area of advice is also on the technology of resource. We need to have technology that is also not very healthy, because we can have a situation where technology is introduced to the country and we live in it forever. If not for years, even for many decades. So it is important that we look at the technology we got, and when negotiating for contracts with the vendors, it's also important that we look at all those analyses, and also sure that there is also transfer of knowledge to the local technical teams through training to enable long-term sustainability, so that you don't have a situation where you have a system that you will not be able to operate for 10 years after its inception.
Okay, I think we need to move on faster. Ghana, advice or innovation? And
I think I'll give
1
some
minute.
advice.
Advice.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Good
so I
choice.
think that the government input must be unwavering. You must have full government support, and you must also look at your legislation. Have a robust legislative framework, because without it, you won't be able to move on to any of the work. And then also your data. What is the point of collecting data if you cannot use the data? So the enforcement regime, which comes with the identity verification, is very important. So don't focus on just printing the ID cards, but focus on the utility of the card. What can you use the card for? And then also ensure that in doing this, you are making sure that there's trust, there's accessibility, and there's security of the data that you're collecting. So enforcement is key, accessibility and trust and security is key. And then also model your identity verification system and your general national identification ecosystem on systems that leverage on moving you from a cost center to a revenue center. It's a very important point to make. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ghana. Mauritius.
Well, I'll take innovations.
Innovation. Okay.
One of the key innovation at our level is the launch of the new hybrid identity system with an enhanced new generation ID card with enhanced security, which is EU ISO certified, coupled with a mobile ID. Our aim is to make the mobile ID become predominant in the near future, in the future. As of now, it is not predominant because it is new. But the breakthrough in this innovation is the provision of the digital wallet within the system, which provide an infinite number of opportunities which will provide an infinite number of opportunities, which is providing an infinite number of opportunities to us. For example, we are able the digital wallet is not only storing the proof of identity, but it can also do online authentication to access to multiple government services. We are presently discussing with the police to see whether the license and the vehicle registration can put on the ID card. Last week, we had a meeting with the Minister of Transport. We want to have a digital system which is for the penalty point system. So all these are all the ministries. Many ministries are interested to take advantage of this digital ID to bring in more services. Now, one other advantages of this new system is making services closer to the population by issuing notification. For example, when it's time for you to pay tax, when it's time for you to pay fines when it's time for you to go for your hospital appointment and other civil obligation.
Excellent. So this is actually the government proactively reaching out to the citizens and engaging them. This is making the government and the citizens closer to each other. Thank you, Mauritius. You have one last thing you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say one more thing.
Yes, please.
You need to have a strong legal framework behind this
Yes.
to be able to implement a strong governance structure for you to be successful
in this.
And you should look at the financial sustainability of the project. It should be a financial planning over more than 10 years.
Understood. Okay.
Thank you.
Morocco, advice or innovation?
Nus, nus.
Half, half. Okay, that's not an option, but we'll make an exception.
So, my advice, ce que je voudrais partager, c'est on s'appelle toujours un exemple de l'écosystème. Et j'aimerais donner un exemple d'innovation qui montre que le projet a été à l'écoute un petit peu, que ce soit les citoyens, parce que nous avons toujours des demandes d'inclusion. Vous savez, nous utilisons l'identité numérique, nous utilisons la lecture de la puce de la carte nationale, c'est-à-dire qu'il faut des smartphones. J'ai vu ça sur plusieurs panels. Il faut des smartphones équipés de la technologie numérique, etc. Aussi, les fournisseurs de services de l'écosystème. Donc, ce que nous avons fait comme innovation récemment, c'est que nous avons ajouté en plus de la nationale d'ancienne et de nouvelle génération la plateforme. Aujourd'hui, la plateforme peut être aussi utilisée pour les passeports aussi, passeports nationaux et internationaux. Aujourd'hui, l'accès à ces services en ligne au Maroc peut être fait par des résidents d'autres pays qui utilisent leur passeport pour accéder à des services. Mais pour le citoyen, pour une inclusion plus globale, nous sommes en train de travailler en ce moment sur la dématérialisation de la carte nationale. C'est-à-dire qu'il y aura toujours besoin de la version physique de la carte nationale une première fois, qu'on dématérialise dans nos téléphones, que cette fois-ci peuvent ne pas être NFC, nous avons des méthodes pour le faire, et le citoyen aura une version dématérialisée de sa carte nationale sur son smartphone, qu'il pourra utiliser pour du KYC, de l'authentification biométrique ou pas. Donc, nous restons sur le décentralisé. Nous ne sommes pas partis vers un modèle centralisé, mais nous donnons plus de contrôle, nous simplifions l'usage pour le citoyen. Cette innovation est en train d'être développée en ce moment et pourra être prête d'ici la fin de l'année.
Okay, we will be listening. Nigeria, advice or innovation? Huh? Half and half as well. Okay, we'll permit. Can we have the mic? Actually, you're supposed to have your head mic working, but yes.
Innovation-wise, I agree that privacy does education. So decentralized identity they made translation, like digital ID wallets. And then advice. Something that's very new to us in Nigeria, but family and charity language is finance.
Yes.
Different languages.
Excellent. Excellent.
And then regarding the Muslim, it's all thinking that the agencies and the states should have helped in securing us. Well, why is it not really wasn't related to data protection? The Data Protection Act, my country, for example, doesn't allow you to share data beyond so this needs to work on. It's very important. That way, patient students was always on mobility. Then also, last but not least, and platforms. So digital responsibilities are to security digital signatures. So that's very, very, very important. And you need that as a form of community. So you need that for other countries. So I'd like to encourage other countries that they know we can system to work in that direction. And also a lot of transference to integrations and verifications. We found out that there's no sandbox environment. It's not countries and really positive technology is quite expensive, etc. So it's important that it's be in place and then on board. It's just farm space and farm center on there for data management. I think it's
Very rich, very rich. This was just a long and phenomenal session. I hope you found it very intense, very rewarding. Yes, please thank the panelists.